Hi. Part 2. Yo, yo, yo. Hi. What's up? Ooh, I need lotion. Where is my lotion? Oh, there it is. It puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again. Why do I restart the live? Because it kind of refreshes the whole thing. It refreshes, like, sometimes these lives will get glitchy and kind of shitty, and it restarts the live. It puts me back on the map for more people to jump in. Maybe some more people want to be a part of the conversation. There's a lot of reasons. No, World War III is not here. Take your hyperbolic bullshit someplace else. No, I do not believe in the devil. The only people who believe in the devil are Christians. Yes, I have 5 separate accounts here on TikTok. This is one of them. I don't care about Buddhism. It's unnecessary, I think, as with any other religion. Why am I so aggressive? Actually, the question you should be asking is, why are Christians so aggressive? They started this fight. It wasn't me that started this. I didn't start this fight. Christians did. By forcing their fucking beliefs down other people's throats, by forcing their beliefs into law and public schools and trying to conflate science. Christians started this fucking fight, not me. I'm just participating in it. Science is not a cult. What kind of asinine shit is that? Science is the best metric we have for understanding the nature of reality. Your life benefits immensely from science. You're literally watching me on a network, on a device developed by science. Science is not a cult. Shut up. If you think science is a cult, then I highly recommend that you put your cell phone down, stop driving your car, stop eating food, stop wearing clothes, stop living in the building you live in. Just go stand in a field, actually, just not even a field. Just go stand someplace in the desert, completely surrounded by absolutely nothing. Stop using science when it benefits you. I am accepting guest requests if people want to jump in and have a conversation. Humans don't need science. Then why are you on a cell phone right now talking to me in my comment section? You don't need science, then you don't need food, clothing, shelter, transportation, communication. You don't need anything that your life has. Again, if you want to have a discussion, send in a guest request. You have to have 1,000 followers and the ability to go live. But if you want to be a part of the discussion, send a guest request. If you have a belief that science is a cult and religion is the one true way we should go, and you think you can hold that case against me, bring it on. I'm happy to have the conversation with you.
Technically, I agree what you're saying. I've been watching you. I've been agreeing what you're saying. That's the thing.
Appreciate it. I appreciate the support.
Technically, that's why I follow you because, first of all, religion. No, I'm a Wiccan, but still, I believe what you're saying because, first of all, I don't believe in God and Jesus. I do to a point because of family, but that's about it. But if anybody sits there, and I've noticed you've been having trouble with your lives band, and all you're doing is been sitting there trying to get everybody to understand you and everybody else. I've been watching you.
No,
So they just, you want to know, I've noticed about this app. I think it's run by Christians. Weirdest thing. Or run by anti of everything. Because, first of all, yes, I'm part of the LGBT community as well. Science, why does everybody have to put science towards everything? That's my thing. Why?
science is everything.
Yeah, we know it is, but it is everything. But like I say, but people have to put, like, I do believe, if you notice, yeah, schools have been run by Christianity, and I'm saying, can everybody leave that out of school? I do believe what you're saying.
Yeah, you can leave it out of school, but you mentioned that you were a Wiccan.
Yeah.
What good reason do you have for believing in that?
Why do I believe in that? Technically, I just don't believe in God and Jesus. I took to Wiccan because I believe in spells and trying to, yeah. I've been trained by a high power Wiccan in Salem, Massachusetts. So yeah.
So
Technically, and I do understand. I've been watching your videos. I do understand where you're coming from and everything. I've been watching. I've been keeping an eye. I've been seeing you on the 40, but I do follow you too. So I've been understanding everything you're saying and why you have been saying what you're saying, and I do understand. That's the thing. And I see where you stand and where you're going by.
My worldview is that our beliefs should conform to the best scientific evidence we have available, and we should not. We should be very careful not to actually hold that thought. There's a better way to put this. I don't have to read it specifically, but
like I gotta say this one thing. If there's ever evidence and proof that there actually was a Jesus and God, is there really? I have not seen.
Well, I want you to apply that same standard to your Wiccan beliefs. But give me a second. Beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world, and one should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. So if you're going to challenge Christian God and Jesus, then in that using that exact same metric and standard, you should be challenging Wiccan beliefs.
I don't pressure people with my beliefs.
It doesn't matter. My point is, if you're going to hold one to a standard, you should hold all to the same standard.
I do actually understand that. Actually, you have a point there. And I'm not doubting you. You do have a point there. Yeah, BS my ass, people. Stop being BS. I see that. People have been bullshitting you, haven't they?
I don't pay attention to I don't really pay attention to the comments. There's a lot of Christians in the comments that give me shit, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah, it's not. I've noticed when I pop in, I've seen how your comments look like more of hate towards you and towards your beliefs. You know, I've been thinking of what I've watched a lot of Satanists on this app. I understand where you're all coming from. I'm not. I don't have hate against you. Actually, I actually agree with everything you say. That's the thing.
Well, I appreciate that, but again, it goes back to this idea that you claim to be Wiccan. I'm going to challenge everybody's beliefs. I'm not just going to go after Christians here. And by and large, Wiccans don't typically hurt other people, but it could lead to it.
I never hurt anybody. I know it could lead to it.
That you know of. The impact that we cannot measure the impact of the things that we believe on society at the individual level. We can measure it at the larger level, at the community level, but we can't measure individual beliefs and the impact they have. For all you know, some part of what you believe could have led somebody down a bad road of misinformation and untrue things that cause some type of harm. When we believe in things that don't have evidence,
you're not the only Saint
we invite harm.
I actually follow. I have been looking into the Saint worship stuff. I have. There's one thing I've been looking into it. Maybe change my beliefs. I have been looking into it, but I don't want to be hated by a lot, but I don't care anymore. This app has turned me inside out because they hate on me because I'm LGBT. That's one thing. I don't go live much because I get that, oh, what does God say? Well, take your God somewhere else, please, because I don't care. The Bible actually has been butchered how many times?
Again, stepping back away from Christianity because we already know my position on that.
I do.
I'm talking about Wicca right now because you said you were Wicca.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to if you're going to hold Christianity to this standard, why are you also then not holding Wicca to that same standard?
I do, actually. To the point is, lately I don't know what I believe.
Well, that's a good thing. Keep doing work on it. That's a good thing. Keep doing work on it.
Because lately I've been trying to put myself into where I can put myself lately. The Wicca is something I have.
Here's something that might help. Look up the word humanism on Google. I'll
do that after I get off because it make it easier. I know I have other devices, but.
Well, and I do appreciate you. I'm going to move on to the next guest. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Bye.
All right. Moving on.
But I forget the question that I had. That there was so much rambling I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
Apologies. So, I mean, it sounds like you're trying to say the facts of science or facts found by science should get applied to all beliefs indiscriminately, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's just logic, right?
2 + 2 = 4, no matter how we feel about it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. You know, if what is it? If your feelings keep you from understanding the logic of what's being said, regardless of how it's presented, that's a you problem.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, like, when I get Christians who want to argue against the theory of evolution, well, it's just a theory. Yeah. They don't understand the definition of the word scientific theory. They conflate it with the word hypothesis.
Some theories will always be theories because they can't be proven as fact.
No, my point. A theory is a fact. A scientific theory is a studied, observed, experimented fact.
Well, no, a theory is a theory that has facts behind it, but it hasn't been proven as fact.
I'm not using the colloquial word theory. I'm using the specific word scientific theory.
Like, what's your definition?
How a scientist uses the word theory is very different from how regular everyday citizens use the word theory. When a scientist uses the words theory, it's a fact. Evolution is a fact.
Well, there are also scientific facts. Like, there's not just all theories. There is another level, right?
No, theory is the highest accolade an idea can achieve in the scientific community. That's why we call it the theory of gravity or germ theory. The theory or germ theory. The theory is the best act based on evidence and observation.
My understanding, though, is there are some facts in science, that there are some things that are absolutely true, and then there are theories that haven't been fully proven.
Those are laws. Those are laws. So
laws.
Right here off of livescience.com, in general, a scientific law is the description of an observed phenomenon. It doesn't explain why the phenomenon exists or what caused it. The explanation for a phenomenon is called a scientific theory.
Noted. Thank you.
So,
Sorry, I'm getting a wicked echo from my audio here. I'm gonna have to drop.
oh, that's fine. Sorry, man. Thanks for jumping in.
Thank you.
So I actually just saw you come up on my For You page, and I just thought it was funny because I've been sitting here pondering this topic of conversation, and just thinking about, and I don't specifically disagree with you, and I don't identify with any specific religion, but I was just thinking about how interesting it is that so many people choose to, I guess, devote their life to worshiping a
They don't.
god, or you know, to an extent they claim to devote their life
Well,
to
no. The conflation that you're making is that they choose it. They don't.
well, there can be instances where it's chosen instead of
No, not usually.
indoctrination. I don't
We
know.
we don't choose our beliefs. We are either convinced of a claim or we are not convinced of a claim.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I actually do agree with that. Yeah. Because like you
And
can't
by
force
and
yourself
large,
to
the
believe
vast majority of people who are Christian are only Christian because Constantine made it a law and then murdered people who wouldn't convert.
I don't know. Okay, so yeah. So the point that I was getting to was that I think that it's just a little interesting that these people assign themselves to something, or, you know, maybe truly believe it when they can't fully understand it. You know what I mean? Even a Christian who fully reads the Bible couldn't understand the implications of the religion and the intention behind it because of all the
Right.
translations throughout, you know, each iteration of the Bible and so on. And not even
It's
just
like
Christians,
people.
but
It's like people who will jump into an argument with complete confidence, saying the exact wrong thing.
yeah, 100%. But the weird thing is, like, even in those situations when it's not about religion at all, everyone believes they're right just as much as you do. So convincing somebody, you know what I mean, that they're
Well,
wrong is almost impossible if they believe it.
the difference between people claiming that they're right and the people who are providing evidence for the fact that they're right, that's two different things.
100%. I just think it's interesting, the mentality of it, especially these people who, you know, but also just a personal opinion, because I'm curious. Do you truly believe that anybody, or what percent of Christians, for instance, do you think actually question their belief? Do you think that all of them just, or maybe not all of them, but majority of them even have this just sort of thing where they do believe? Because I've tried to go to Christian church. I've tried to, you know, when I was younger, when I was in like elementary school, and I tried to go with my friends, and it just never worked. It just never
Something
worked
you've got to
on me.
something you've got to be aware of is the vast majority of people in the United States who are Christian are so because they were indoctrinated as a child.
Yeah.
Fear tactics and emotional manipulation. They were told as children, if you don't do this, God's going to torture you in hell for eternity.
So when we look
Your
at
mommy
religions
and
like
daddy go to
that
church, therefore
remove,
you will go to church.
yeah. So when we look at religions that remove the sort of fear aspect, like in the Old Testament of the Bible, it never really mentions hell, even though there is some sort of like God,
Well,
you know, killing people and things like that.
that's
So
why
what?
first century it was still right. You just hit so God's still killing people, and so
Yeah.
while there wasn't the hell, there was still very much a manipulative fear tactic involved in that.
So when we're thinking
Are
of
there
like
religions
theism
that
or like reincarnated, sorry, yeah, you can.
there's no evidence to support those claims?
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no evidence. I just am curious about, I guess, the psychology behind how, if there is no, you know, fear, then where does the indoctrination come from? If a child, you know, is like raised up Buddhist, you know, and they have this concept of reincarnation, and that like I guess there's no, like you were saying earlier, there's no way to tell the specific way that a belief system would affect an individual and what they would do to other people or whatever. But without like the fear mongering of a consequence, then what kind of pushes
You're
them to
always going to
believe
be
it?
afraid of a God, even if there is no direct consequence. People are going to be afraid of something that's more powerful than themselves.
Yeah, I guess that is just kind of
And
bred
one of the
into us.
worst parts about being human is that innately we are afraid of things we don't understand.
Yeah,
And rather than sit there and say, hey, I don't know, we want to make up bullshit to fucking justify what we don't know.
yeah, I totally agree. I think that that's, you know, the scariest thing. We're alive. We don't really know what the fuck happened before we got here. I mean, you know, whatever. We don't know why we're here. We don't know what happens after it ends. And so the natural conclusion is to come up with, you know, ideas and things and reasons
Well,
to
it's
behave
pretty
a certain
simple. I
way.
think the best we could do is always remain to some degree either neutral
Hmm.
on things that we don't know, and always act within moderation.
Yeah.
Being an
I get
extremist is never a good idea.
Yeah, in any sense of the word. In any sense of the word. Everything is good in moderation. I 100% agree. Well, not everything is good in moderation, but, you know, anything is bad outside of moderation or can be. So I totally agree with that. Yeah, I really think that's it that I had to say. I just I appreciated watching you talk to these people. I think that, you know, keep doing what you're doing and spread the truth, your truth.
Well, we all have the same truth, but I understand what you're saying, and thank you for the support.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
All right, next guest request, really quick above my head, is my Venmo and my Cash App. If you feel like my content is worth a few bucks, I appreciate the donation. I'm never going to charge for this content. I'm not setting up a Patreon. I'm not going to put up a paywall to access my content in any shape or form. Eventually, this is all going to go on YouTube, and even there, I'm not gonna set it up to be a thing where you have to pay to see it or anything like that. I want that to be voluntary. If you think that what I'm doing is entertaining, or if it's, you know, worthwhile, if it means something to you, and you know, a few bucks would help. I'd appreciate it. I hope. Yeah, and if you don't like my content, you can, you know, basically tell me to go fuck myself. I understand. I get it. It's all good.
Why me? All right, why me? You're gonna have to resubmit a request. We're not getting any of your audio.
Muzzy.
Hey, how's it going, boss?
Not too bad yourself.
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I just wanted to touch on something you said.
Yep.
Not the last conversation, the one before that, in regards to science and scientific facts.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So do you know the difference between induction and deduction?
Kind of, not really. I'm not
Okay.
really a scientist.
That's no problem. But science uses an inductive method of research, right? So they observe something a multitude of times, then they come to a conclusion. That doesn't prove facts. They don't derive facts from scientific research. Doesn't derive facts. It just derives highly backed reason in order to believe something. So the contrary would be a lower percentage.
According
If that
to
makes sense.
Google, the deduction is idea first, followed by observation and a conclusion. Induction is observation first, followed by an idea that could explain what's been seen. So induction would lead to a hypothesis. Deduction would lead to a theory.
No, deduction. I'll give you an example. Deduction is fact. Absolute facts are derived from deduction.
Theory.
Yes, science doesn't use deduction. Science uses induction, right? The scientific method where they test something over and over and over again. Deduction is used more in mathematics, right? So 1 + 1 = 2. That's a method of deduction. And
yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you here. So induction would lead to a hypothesis. It's an observation followed by an idea. Okay, that's a hypothesis. So and then deduction, which would be a fact, which is the idea first, followed by observations and a conclusion, would end up being a theory.
You're talking about deduction will end up being a theory. Deduction,
Yes.
the reason they don't call theories facts is because there's still a chance they could be wrong. It's a very, very small chance most of the time.
Hold on. That's not necessarily true. The definition of the words theory by itself, you could make that argument, but the way scientists use the word theory is as in a scientific theory. That's a fact that, yes, more information could be lent to it to improve our understanding of it. So like evolution is a fact, it's a theory. The theory of evolution is a fact. And the more we learn, the more we add to that fact. But it's still a theory.
Yeah.
A theory is the highest accolade any idea can receive in the scientific method.
which is exactly why it can be a fact. They can just say fact, but the reason they don't say fact is because theories can end up being wrong. I'll give you an example. There's a scientific term but it goes by paradigm shift, right? This is when something is highly backed, but then science takes a whole paradigm shift, and the way we look at things completely changes because science is based off observations of how things are in the real world. Our observations on things can change as technology progresses. We can observe things differently, or we can observe
Right.
things a different way. In the sense, like if you look at a book sideways versus or horizontally versus vertically, the way you see
Yeah,
it.
I understand that. You and I are in complete agreement. I don't see the disagreement here.
Yeah, because you're saying it's a fact, but a fact
Yeah.
cannot be like there are no false facts, or there are fact
I
is
never.
factual. Yeah, you're saying a theory.
Evolution is a fact.
It's not a theory; it's a fact.
It's both. It is called the theory of evolution, and the theory of evolution is a fact.
I mean, I would disagree with you. I put my reason out there. Induction, you cannot derive. Science uses induction. You cannot derive facts from induction. There are
It's not
facts
an
out there.
inductive. The theory of evolution is not inductive.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's deductive.
Science like this, it doesn't you.
Hold on.
I mean,
No. Stop. The theory of evolution is not inductive. It is deductive.
I mean, you can
It
say
started
that.
with an idea, and then there was observations and experiments made. That's how evolution started with Darwin. He had an idea, and then observations and experiments made over time, about 160 years, by thousands of scientists in multiple different fields of studies, independently of each other, came to the conclusion that evolution is a fact.
Again, like I said, maybe you're using the word fact different, but you cannot
No,
derive.
I'm not using the word fact different.
Look, I mean,
Evolution is a fucking fact.
I mean, you can, like I said, you can say that, and you can keep reiterating that, right? That doesn't
It
change.
is.
That doesn't
It's
change
based
the
on
fact.
observation and experiments. Evolution is a fact.
Like I said, the way we observe things and what we observe and how we observe it changes throughout time because technology progresses.
You're not fucking listening, dude. Evolution is settled science.
Look,
we're still learning more about the processes of evolution, but evolution, by and large, is settled science. It's a fucking fact.
Okay, science. Did you ever take a philosophy of science class?
No.
All right, if you take one, right, or if you just do any research on the philosophy of science, they'll tell you, or the research will tell you.
I don't care about philosophical arguments. I don't give a flying fuck. Philosophy is garbage.
Okay, you want to say that, then throw away the scientific method. Throw away
logic. The
scientific
method isn't based. Scientific method isn't based on philosophy. The scientific method is based on a set of rules you need to follow in order to remove personal bias from an idea.
Philosophy of science. That's the philosophy of science.
Oh my God, I'm just about done.
I mean,
evolution is a fucking fact, whether you like it or not. Period.
I mean, you're saying things. I tell you it's induction. They say no, it's deduction because
it is not inductive.
Yes, it is. All scientific studies are inductive. I tell you, take a philosophy of science.
You're done.
Tell me philosophy.
Nope.
You can tell me I'm done. You can tell me I'm done. I'll leave.
You're done.
Intellectual conversation. I ain't gonna waste my fucking time on you. Evolution is a fact. Whether you like it or not, it's a fucking fact. Evolution happened. It is still happening. Period.
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And you sound like a very, very smart man. I'm not well educated as far as
So why do you believe in God?
Because I had an experience with him. I didn't used to believe in God. I didn't believe most
How do you know
of my
your
life.
experience? How do you know your experience How do you know your experience was God?
It was Jesus, actually.
How do you know?
Because he came to me And I knew
It
it
couldn't
was
have possibly
Jesus.
been anything else. It couldn't have been your brain playing tricks on you. It couldn't have
Nope.
been some type of hallucination. You're absolutely certain,
I know
without a
for
doubt,
sure.
that it was Jesus.
12 years ago, Jesus saved my soul. 12 years ago. And
I'm glad Jesus has got time to save your life, but not the life of the dying child in the hospital right now whose parents are begging God to save him.
Oh, he goes. He saves people all over the world.
Really?
He's a rescuer. Yes.
You think maybe Allah saves people too?
No, I don't believe in Allah.
No, you don't think Muslims are saved by Allah?
There's
Maybe they're
only one
praying
way
to
to
Allah
heaven.
for.
It's through Jesus
Maybe they're
Christ, the
praying
Son
to.
of God.
Maybe they're praying to Allah to save their child from cancer, and the child's cancer goes into remission. How do you know Allah didn't save the child?
Jesus, he has a special place for children. He's not going to
Really?
abandon children.
Hold
He
that
loves
thought.
children.
Okay.
He loves children. And I believe he loves
Hold
you.
on. Hold on. Let's actually look that up really quick. Let's see if we can test that idea. We're gonna do a little bit of research here real quick.
Okay. He could heal your kidney failure if you believed.
What?
Yeah, your faith.
Are
faith
you out of your
the
fucking mind? Are
no,
you mentally fucking ill?
No, faith of the
Well,
size of a grain of mustard seed.
Stop. This shit right here is the reason I rally against your religion. This exact nonsense.
It's not nonsense. It's true.
This is nonsense. Just over 90,000 people per year go through fucking kidney failure in this country. About 20,000 of them will receive a kidney transplant. 5,000 of them will die.
It's truth. He healed all through the Bible. He heals people all through
You
today.
are fucking insane. First off,
insane.
the Bible is absolute bullshit. The Bible is absolute. The Bible is absolute bullshit. The Bible is absolute. The Bible. The Bible. The Bible. The Bible is absolute. The Bible is absolute bullshit.
I've seen it, sir.
No, you have not.
Yes,
no, you
sir,
have not.
Have.
You are
I've
lying through your teeth.
Out of wheelchairs
you are absolutely lying through your fucking teeth. You are lying through your teeth.
I'm not a liar, sir.
You are a liar.
Satan is a liar. The devil is
You are
a
liar. Faith healers. Shut up. Shut up. Faith healers do not work in hospitals for the same reason psychics do not win the lottery. You are full of shit.
No, I'm not. Jesus is a healer. He's the truth.
Then why don't you work in a hospital and heal people?
Why don't I'm not Jesus. I'm not a minister.
What do you know? So why doesn't Jesus work in a hospital and heal people?
He does. He heals people all the time.
No, he does not.
All across social media of him healing people.
Doctors and nurses and medical staff and scientists save people's lives. Your Jesus is nowhere to be fucking found.
Where do you think they get their knowledge from?
The sacrifices of other people.
Where do you think you get your breath from?
Stop.
Jesus
Christ
gives you the breath to
I will end this conversation if you don't shut up.
You couldn't breathe without Jesus.
Every single goddamn fucking medical practice that we have, medical method that we have, you can trace it back to how we learned how to do it. And at the very beginning of it, somebody's life was lost. Somebody went through great pain to provide us with that fucking knowledge. You don't know jack shit about not only your theology, but the history revolving around it, or even fucking reality for that matter.
The Bible is truth.
The Bible
It is
is
the
a
word
lie.
of God.
That Adam and Eve did not exist. There was no global flood. There was no ark. Egyptians were never slaves or Hebrews were never slaves in Egypt. We have already disproven almost
sir.
all of the Bible.
You have bought into a lie.
No, I have not.
Yes, you have.
No, I have not. We have scientifically
Jesus is
proven.
the truth and the
Stop.
lie.
Nope, 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 nope. Absolutely not. You are wrong.
Jesus is the truth.
No,
He
Jesus
came
is not
to
the truth.
save the world.
The truth is what can
And
be
he's
proven.
coming back.
You are worshiping a blood sacrifice.
Matthew 24
You
is happening
are
right
worshiping a
now.
blood
People
sacrifice.
can read it.
You
No, I'm
are
not.
worshiping
I'm
a blood
worshiping Jesus
sacrifice.
Christ, the Son of
You are,
God.
you're done. You're a psychopath. Get off my fucking
See ya.
page.
Bye.
You. Yeah, bye. Jesus is the truth. Fuck off.
How are you?
Pretty good. How about you?
Let's have a bit of fun over the previous person because clearly she was right. Sorry, I'm mocking, clearly.
Yeah.
Because all my limbs grew back, my hair grew back, and you know what? I found my car
Yeah,
keys.
I mean, I think Jesus is how we beat back. I think Jesus is how we beat country music. If you listen to country music, you lose your wife, your dog dies, and your truck doesn't run. But if you pray to Jesus,
Hey, don't mock her. My dog came back, and I didn't even have one in the first place. So, okay. Clearly,
no, seriously, I really, before you and I get to having a conversation, and the people in the comments, I want to make this painfully fucking obvious. It is people like that are the problem. That woman and how she behaves is the problem with religion. How far gone is she that she can't even have an intellectual conversation? She is that far gone. That is the ignorance that religion and spot potentially do.
Can I just say, in this light, you look a bit like Jesus. Sorry, not the real Jesus, of course. Sorry, I'm still mocking. But seriously.
I didn't disconnect you, my friend. I don't know what happened. Jump back into the guest request, man. We'll bring you back.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got a cheap, crappy pair of headphones, so hopefully my signal stays on and hopefully these work good enough.
I hope so.
Yeah. So I am totally new to your page. I don't know jack about what you believe other than your claim you have written up there. Would you mind running me through that just right quick?
Yeah. I am an agnostic atheist and a humanist. Agnosticism is the claim to knowledge. I do not know if there is or is not a God. As an atheist, that is a claim to belief. I am not convinced of a God due to insufficient evidence. And as a humanist, I think we would be better served worrying more about each other and less about whether an invisible God thinks it's okay for me to suck a guy's dick.
Gotcha. So one thing I wanted to kind of mention, and you can feel free to disagree if you'd like, but what I think you and I think it was 3 or 4 guys back, you ended up hanging up on one of them talking about the theory of evolution and stuff like that. I think where y'all were getting confused is the word fact. So a theory can have facts, but it is still a theory, whereas a law, such as the law of thermodynamics, is a proven constant, as opposed to a theory, which is more of an open-ended type thing in science to add to.
During that conversation, I explained to him that in general, a scientific law is the description of an observed phenomenon. It doesn't explain why the phenomenon exists or what caused it. That's a scientific law. The explanation of a phenomenon is called the theory. So here's a phenomenon. A law is the description of an observed phenomenon. A theory is the explanation for that phenomenon.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and we totally agree on
A
that.
theory,
I think where the
a
confusion
theory
was is that
hold on. A theory is a fact.
well, a theory has facts, but it can still be disproven. Just like there's
A
string
theory,
theory, just like there's
no,
multiverse theory.
hold on. No, hold on. There's, first off, string theory isn't an actual theory. The theory of gravity, it's a fact. Gravity exists. Theory is the best accolade that an idea can achieve in the scientific community. We're going to learn more about that theory. We're going to add to that theory.
Sure.
But it's still a fact.
Right, but we're essentially saying the same thing. The only part I think you're getting hung up on is I'm not disagreeing that there are facts to a theory, but there are
No, I agree with you
laws.
that there are facts to it. I agree with you that there are facts that lead up to a theory, but a theory is still the best known explanation.
Right. But what I'm getting at is there are things such as the law of thermodynamics and the law of conservation of mass. These are things that are constants that are written in science that this will not change. They are no longer theories, they are a law.
As far as we understand, those laws
Gotcha.
are subject to change as well. And honestly, those laws only apply to a closed system. As far as we know, our universe is a closed system. We are not pushing out energy, and we are not getting in any energy from outside of that system.
Right.
So the laws only apply to that closed system.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we can agree on that. Follow up. You're mentioning of philosophy, so you call that bullshit, and I'm just curious why.
Because you get no answers from it.
Well, but without philosophy you have no questions.
Philosophy is just waffling on shit.
How do you figure?
I have listened to so many philosophical debates, and it gets nowhere. It absolutely gets us
I
nowhere.
understand that, yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. I think philosophy has its uses, but I think people give it too much credit.
Okay. But even with the waffling, and I think you pretty much just conceded you can't really throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, without philosophy, you don't have questions asked, such as why things are the way they are, and then from there you don't have science because there's never a question to be asked.
We don't need philosophy to ask the question.
Well, philosophy asks the questions. Science answers them.
No, philosophy doesn't ask the question.
If you have a that's why if you have a PhD, it's a philosophy of if you're a doctor of science, you have a PhD in science. You have philosophy, doctorate of science.
No, that's not what PhD stands for.
I'm just saying, what does it stand for then?
Actually, I don't know, but I don't believe it's philosophy. I mean, I guess it could be. Largely, early fucking higher education was very philosophically based. Yeah, you're right. It's a doctorate of philosophy. I stand corrected.
Okay. And I don't mean to point that out to prove you wrong, but just to point out the fact that the questions are there because it's a philosophy of something. Like, you don't have science without philosophy.
That's fine and dandy, but
so you have scientific method and stuff.
There's a difference now. Like, yes, back when PhD was first originally coined, philosophy and science pretty much coexisted. Now, philosophy is its own separate debate from science.
I mean, I don't know that I agree with that, but that's
Well, I
that's
mean,
fine to be your
there's
opinion.
a TikTok channel where you can go and get all kinds of philosophical conversations. His name is Jesus Mike, and
Jesus
he's
Mike.
actually one of the co-hosts of the show Talk Heathen on YouTube.
Gotcha.
He is a hardcore philosophy major, like guy. I can't keep up with him in philosophy because I I don't I I don't really understand a lot of those arguments. Like philosophy is wasted on me. When I debate religion, I'm debating it from a moral standard and from a factual standard. Currently, there's
So,
no evidence to support the existence of a God.
okay, so from the moral standard, my question to you as a humanist, and then I'm assuming if you're just, so you said you're agnostic humanist, but are you more of a materialist, or is there a possibility of supernatural at all in your mind, or what?
I'm a materialist. I have no reason to believe that supernatural anything exists.
Well, so then the question I would raise is the problem you have there as a materialist is that you've raised a lot of moral problems that your worldview doesn't necessarily allow. If you're a
Yes,
materialist,
it does.
then morals don't exist really.
Yes, they do.
I mean, people like Dawkins, Darwin, Nietzsche.
Well,
You know, I could go down the list of people who
Darwin is
disagree with
not.
you.
Darwin is not a metric for moral understanding. Darwin was a misogynist and a racist and a eugenicist. So I don't give a fuck what Darwin had to say
Sure.
about jack shit, other than that he built the framework for evolution, or he designed the framework for the understanding of evolution, and that's it. Modern evolution has nothing to do with Darwinism. And I don't know that
That's
I don't
fine,
know
but
what.
the point stands that
But hold
there
on,
are
hold on.
multiple.
Hold on. The definition of the word humanism
Sure.
is an outlook or system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters. Humanist beliefs stress the potential value and goodness of human beings, emphasize common human needs, and seek solely rational ways of solving human problems.
Okay.
I have a moral standard.
I'm just saying by
without
that
the
definition.
I have a moral standard without the necessity of a supernatural anything.
Right, but what I'm saying is as a materialist, you have no standard for which to believe your morals are true.
Yes, I do. Here's a question.
So what's your
We'll do a
standard?
hypothetical. Do you want to be punched in the face?
Okay. No.
Yeah. I don't want to be punched in the face either. So you have your subjective moral
Sure.
standard, and I have my subjective moral standard, and we can come together and say, hey, if we want to live together in this society cooperatively and live comfortably, we should make this rule here that says we aren't going to punch each other in the fucking face. That's
Sure.
morality.
And I agree with
In a
that, but
nutshell.
that would make yours. But that would make your morality subjective.
Everybody's morality is subjective.
I mean, that's your opinion, of course. But
That's a fact.
well, so by your standard, then anything that Hitler did, or that any of the dictators of the last 100 years did, or what's happening in Ukraine right now, or children.
Do you think that Hitler thought what he was? Did he think what he was doing was right?
Well, sure.
Okay. Subjective moral standard.
That was his opinion on what he thought was right. That doesn't necessarily mean morals are subjective.
Guess what they are? They're subjective. All throughout history, morality has gotten better over time based on culture, based on a better understanding of how nature works and how we should behave towards each other. The morality that we had 500 years ago isn't the morality we have today.
Right, but there's the problem with what you're saying, and I understand your point, but the problem is that if there is no absolute objective standard of morality, then what you're talking about is
Who gets to decide that objective standard?
Is like slavery was wrong 500 years ago. Well, hold on. Can I finish my point for a second?
Who
Okay, so what I'm saying is the problem you run into as a materialist is that, so 400 some odd years ago, slavery was a thing and it was allowed. Now we know today that it's wrong, but, you know, according to your standard of morality, which I don't believe to be true, 400 years from now, they could say slavery is okay again. And I don't believe that that's...
No, they can't. Because
that
we've learned
is...
more. We've become better with knowledge.
Right. But there's nothing to say that
if
it's
you think there's an
objectively
objective
wrong
moral
to own
standard-
slaves.
If you think there's an objective moral standard, where does that morality come from? Who dictates that morality?
I mean, at the moment, I don't know. At the moment, I don't know, but I do believe in an objective moral standard.
There is no objective moral standard.
I think there are basic things.
Flying fuck.
I think there are basic things in nature that exist that we just objectively know to be true. Lying is wrong, raping, killing, slavery. I mean, obviously, you can look through history and see where they messed up. Do what?
Why are those things considered wrong? Why is murdering wrong? Why? Why are those?
I mean, do you
why
not
is
agree?
murdering immoral? I'm asking you. You're the one who says you have this objective moral standard. I want to know why murdering is wrong based on an objective moral standard.
I'm confused on what you're asking exactly.
Why is murder wrong according to an objective moral standard?
Because if it's an objective moral standard, then that means that it exists amongst all of us to say that murdering
No,
is
that's
wrong.
not what objective moral standard means.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
Go for it.
So, our society is not built on a singular objective moral standard. Evidence
Well, I mean,
of
just
that
real quick, so we're
is
on the
how
same
we-
page. Do you mind sharing the definition you found?
Sure. Objective moral standards means that some actions are always immoral no matter the circumstances. They are independent of subjectivity. The objectivity of an action would essentially rely on the truth that the action was immoral. Immorality is subjective.
Gotcha.
So, in law, we have different definitions of murder, different degrees of intent. Man gets off work, finds his wife cheating, he murders both of them. This is a crime of passion. It comes with a different sentence than premeditated murder or manslaughter charge. For a reason.
Sure.
Because subjectivity matters. Moral standards come from a rational consideration of consequence, not an assertion of authority.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last part you cut out? Not a rational something?
Moral standards come from a rational consideration of consequence, not an assertion of authority.
Gotcha. I mean, I don't know that I would say it comes from an assertion of authority. Like, if I believe in objective morality, it doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah, it does.
It's
if
like
there's
you
an
just read on the
objective moral standard, that
definition.
means that some agent. Well, if there's an objective moral standard, that usually would mean that some agent decides what that moral standard is.
I
See,
mean, sure. If
the
I'm a
objective moral
theist, then
standard is
yeah.
the argument that I get. The objective moral standard is the argument that I get from Christians because their God decides morality. The
Sure.
objective moral standard given by God.
Right. And if I'm
Yeah,
a
I don't
theist, then I
believe
would
in a
agree
God
with that.
exists.
But if I'm not a
I have no
theist and I just
reason.
observe the world as having objective moral standards,
I don't have a reason
then
to believe that a
there's
God
really
or creator exists.
gotcha.
And as I've said, morality changes over time based on culture. The more we learn about the nature of reality and our own personal natures as human beings, the better our morality gets.
Not sure I would agree with that.
So 75 years ago, before the civil rights,
Sure.
a couple hundred years ago, slavery. Several thousand years ago, it was okay to fuck children.
Right.
Yeah, the subjective moral standard got better over time.
I mean, I guess I get what you're saying, but the problem that you still run into is if it's subjective, there's nothing to necessarily call it wrong. Because
Yes,
it's not
it's called
ultimately wrong or
the
right.
difference between harm and well-being. That's how you measure it. This idea right here causes more harm than well-being. We should get rid of that and instead replace it with this idea over here that increases well-being and reduces suffering.
So your opinion would be that morals are more based on a societal standard? See, because what I'm not
Yes,
getting is that, so well-being as defined by who or what? Because, so
us
slavery,
as a collective,
obviously,
us as a society.
sure. So slavery, you know, obviously terrible thing, right? But like benefits to it, yes, there were economic benefits to it because you're getting free labor.
Right,
But
but it left behind the harm being done to the slaves.
right, yeah, I don't know.
In a moral, with a moral standard, everybody benefits.
Gotcha. All right, man. Well, it was a good talk for sure.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot for jumping in.
Yeah.
Really quick before we get started at the next one, my Venmo and my Cash App are above me. I have to advertise this, folks. I'm sorry. I know it probably gets annoying to listen to me talk about it. I am not going to put a paywall in front of this. I'm not going to do fuck all with any of that bullshit. I'm not joining the Creator Fund. I'm not doing any of that nonsense. My content will always remain free. I enjoy doing this. I really do. I love having these conversations with people. If you think this is worth a few bucks, I'd appreciate the donation. Seriously. If not, I understand. You know, it is what it is. Right, moving on. Oh, he didn't connect. So we're going to move on again.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Best as can be expected considering the circumstances.
Yeah, exactly. I was hearing the last host. I couldn't click his image. I was loving his input though. What I think maybe would connect you guys a little bit, I think, at least from my perspective, is that as you were talking about it, yeah, if the moral standard is subjective or just objective and definite, and that's what it is. And I was thinking of it more in a sense of I don't think that math ever changes, you know? Math is what it is. We just discover it, and our understanding of math has been growing and growing. Like a thousand years ago, we probably didn't even consider of negative numbers or something like that, you know. So I think about it in the same sense, like morality, even though it's a lot more complex, a lot more abstract, it is something that we chip off at, you know. In that sense, to me, and I think maybe I'm speaking for the last guest too, but maybe not. I have a sort of specific way of thinking about religion and God. But to me, God is that absolute abstract version of that quote unquote math that we're aiming at. So that morality that we're aiming at that we don't really know. And the devil is exactly the opposite, you know. So the abstract idea of the bad side of morality. So to me, saying that that doesn't exist is like saying that math doesn't exist. Even though we don't understand it, we can't say for sure, and there are no facts that can show you if God exists. Like we were both talking about murder and the degrees of murder and whether or not like things would go back and forth on morality, regardless of any evolution on morality and any subjectivity on morality. I don't think there's anything ever that's going to make murder a thing that's okay, you know. Maybe in a certain circumstances it's the best solution, for example, like to kill Hitler. Maybe that would be the best solution at the time, but the act itself of murder isn't good. It's just better than the alternative, which is the death of everyone. So I don't know if I'm making myself clear or not. I haven't heard you speak. I'm sorry, I just kept
Well,
going.
the argument that I think me and the last gentleman were more or less having is that he was a deist. He believed in a creator God, and that objective moral standards came from that sense of authority. Whereas my argument is our morality is subjective to each individual. Your morality or moral standard is going to be different than mine.
Yeah, I do get that, but what I mean is that regardless of our subjective understanding of it, there is an absolute morality that no one knows, and we're
No,
only
there's not. There's no
aiming at.
evidence of that.
Of course, but there's also no evidence of math. Or what I mean is, like,
There is
and I
evidence
was
of math. Look, there is evidence of math. Math, I mean, you could burn every single math book on the planet right now, and in 100 years, it might come back in a different language, but it would essentially be the same thing. Those equations still
exactly,
exist. Math is just an effort to understand the nature of reality.
exactly. To
Moral
me, it's
standard
the
is
exact
an
same.
effort for us to get along cooperatively in a society. But
Well,
it's
why?
always going to be subjective.
Yeah, but in the same way that you're saying that even if we burned everything down, something like math would come up. Maybe that's why all of the religions have a very strong connection between them, and they all share a very strong DNA between them. You know, maybe
Or could
it's
it be that
because,
we were forming societies before religions ever existed, and those religions just co-opted beliefs that people
of course,
already had?
sure, but why did civilizations in America and in Africa and in Asia all came to the same conclusion? Maybe it's because the inherent truth behind it, or quote unquote the math of
Because I
morality,
think
the
it's pretty.
abstract idea of it exists.
I would say that it would be pretty obvious that if you're living in a community of people, and somebody from another community murders one of your people, that would be kind of a thing you wouldn't want to see happen. And that doesn't matter what
But it
tribe you come
depends,
from,
though.
on what corner of the planet you come from. I think that's a pretty obvious thing.
It can be obvious, but also it can be a little more complex than that, because it what makes it okay. For example, two tribes are fighting. The end conclusion isn't obvious, because maybe they're friendly, maybe they're not, maybe we can take them over, maybe we can join them, maybe they'll take us over. Like the resolution to human conflict is a lot more complex than just 1+1, you know. And that's why
Not
I
really.
think
Not when you break it
I don't
down. It's not more complex unless you're trying to like, don't get me wrong, life is full of nuance and gray areas, but the social moral standard exists because of the subjective moral standard of its population.
Yeah,
there are
I'd
groups
agree.
of
Yeah,
people
sure.
here in the United States who, on given any opportunity, would run around and murder gay people. 100%.
Sure. And I don't think they'll ever really deeply think of that as a right thing to do. They might
Yes, they
want to
will.
do it. They might.
Yes,
I don't.
no, they
I'm
will
not. We're not.
absolutely think. No,
Sure.
stop. Yes, they absolutely will think it's an okay thing to do. They will literally think that it was commanded to them to do by their God.
But we're not that person. We don't know. We're not in their feet. I'm talking subjectively. If I was in that position, even if I was like brainwashed into believing whatever the fuck, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And that's what we see. Like
How
with
do you know?
I
You can't.
don't
You
know. I
cannot
don't
make
know.
that claim. You
Of
cannot
course.
make that claim. You cannot say that given circumstance B, where you don't exist, and that's not how you work, you can't say how you would behave.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean when you say they do believe it and they do think it's right. It's the same. We're in the same position. From what I've read and from the accounts for example the Second World War and from Nazi Germany, the accounts all show that these people, like PTSD, for example, is a great example of that. People come from the war even though they were fighting the enemy, quote unquote, and murder would be okay in those circumstances because you're defending your side of the fight. Even then, murdering, for example, is never
Some people
just
deal with.
allowed. You know,
Some people in the military deal with killing other people. Okay, other people have a hard time dealing with it. This is why it's subjective.
but I still
I've
don't like.
met people in the military who have had absolutely no problem killing another human being. None.
But again, how do you know you're not that person?
They're fine. They aren't
Sure, they might
dealing with
seem fine.
PTSD. They aren't
I
dealing.
don't.
They're not all fucked up in the head. They're not having psychosis or issues or anything else like that.
Look, I'm not trying to like catch you or anything, but it's like
No, I
you
know
don't
you're
know.
not,
Like
but you're
I
trying
don't
to
know.
imply. You're trying to imply that every single human being on the planet would feel bad if they killed somebody, and that is not true.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. But still, I don't think that there would be like even okay. So I think that people like that are not that common, and
Yes, they are common.
I don't think that.
I mean, oh man,
Not common enough so that we okay. What we're debating here
they
again, I'll
obviously
get to the
they,
example
they
of meth
obviously
again.
need some form of justification for the action, obviously. But either way, not everybody has the same moral standard as everybody else.
I'll do something else here. For example, I struggle with porn. For example, I'd say I'd have sort of a weird porn relationship and addiction, and I might
No,
do
you
it.
don't.
I might enjoy myself. No. Let me.
You
You're
don't
not on
have an
my feed. You
addiction.
don't know. How do
It's
you?
not an
This is
addiction.
not the debate. That's not the debate. That's not the debate here. What I
No,
mean to say is
no, stop. Hold on. The reason I got on you for that is because religious people do that shit all the time. They take something arbitrary that's completely fucking irrelevant and harms nobody, and they make it this big issue that it shouldn't be. I scroll TikTok and always see Christians saying porn addiction, it's not a thing.
I'm not
Not
a
real.
Christian though.
Religious, whatever. Porn
I just became
addiction
religious
is
2
not
years
real.
ago. I've considered myself a porn addicted since I was an atheist,
Porn
like 10 years ago.
addiction is not
That's not the
real.
debate. Never mind then. I'm not a porn addict. Doesn't matter. What I mean to say is I don't like consuming porn. I don't like masturbating. When I
Why?
do, because I don't. It's my prerogative or not.
Yeah, I'm asking you why.
That's not
There's
the
a reason
point.
for our
That's not the
behaviors.
point. That's not what we're debating. What I mean to say is
Oh my
I still
God.
do it. I still do it, even though after that I regret it. You know, we all do shit that we
I'm gonna
regret.
ask this.
It doesn't
I'm trying to
mean
help you
it
out here.
doesn't mean
I wish you would let me have this
no.
fucking conversation. I'm asking you,
Sure.
why do you feel bad?
I just look. This was not the point. I was just trying to elucidate that we all do things
I'm
that
trying to
we
have a
regret.
fucking conversation and a back and
So
forth.
am I.
I have a goddamn point I'm trying to fucking make.
So did I, and you interrupted me. That's the same thing. That's all.
Asking a
That's the
question.
only reason I brought it up.
Why do you think you feel bad for masturbating? Because I don't.
What? Good for you.
Not even a little
Great for
bit.
you. I'm great. That's awesome, man. I
I'm
don't
asking
say
you
that
why.
you shouldn't.
What inspired you to think that way?
Nothing did. I just don't feel right about myself. Like I just don't. Like
Really? So you
nothing
weren't
did.
raised in a religious household that taught you that
Oh, not
masturbation
at
is
all.
evil?
Not at all. I've been an atheist since I was born till I was 23, probably. And I didn't even discuss any of this with my parents or anyone. Like I've always dealt with sexuality on
Well,
my
then I'm
own
going to
and
give you
just
some
with.
insight. Masturbation is healthy and good for you. It releases
I didn't
endorphins,
say
it
it
burns
wasn't.
calories. It is good for you.
Sure, but like everything else, like there's a point where even if you drink enough water, you'll drown. Like there's always a limit to something. And that's where I'm coming from. I do think that I have a problem with it. I don't think that people shouldn't masturbate. That's not what I said. I just feel that I have a problem with it.
All right,
Whatever.
fine. So
Drink
here
it.
you go.
Whatever.
Back to the subjective moral standard argument. You feel guilty for doing something that comes naturally. I do not feel guilty for something that comes naturally. Subjective moral standard. There's no objective moral standard that says masturbating is wrong or right.
I'm not
There's
sure.
no moral standard on that at all.
Okay, I'll agree to
Except
disagree
what
because
matters
to
to
me,
you.
to me, I still like to me it makes the same sense as what I was talking about before. Like, even if I don't understand all of what is math, I can still understand the gist of it and the complexity of it. Like it's not like I'm not saying like I can't fucking solve this problem, so I don't think math exists. That's the only thing
not
I'm
the
coming
point
to.
I'm trying to make, dude. It's just like there's
But it's the point
massive
I'm
disconnect.
trying to make.
There is no objective moral standard. Doesn't exist.
So you don't
It's
think
not
that
real.
So you think that good and bad are just non-existent? It doesn't matter.
No, I think good and bad behaviors exist in our species, but largely good and bad is defined as well-being or happiness versus suffering.
Yeah. So why
And
is
these are
suffering
this
bad?
behavior of making that measurement, it comes from rational consideration of consequence.
Well, what if my family, for example, is struggling, and I decide to murder the rich guy in my town, and I steal everything. No one's ever gonna catch me, and my family will live like for the rest of their days. Well, would you, by your standards, see that as a morally bad or good deed, or it doesn't matter? It's subjective. Well, how would you?
Well, I wish it was that easy, but there's got to be more to it than that, right? So let's imagine like same situation, same exact scenario, but the millionaire, the rich person in your city is getting rich off of selling drugs to children. Oh, then absolutely. From my moral perspective, yeah, off his ass, take his money, and do something good with it.
Okay, but you just.
But if that person is rich because if that person is rich because they've started a business and offered employment at a livable wage to the rest of the city and helped people out, then no, I would say that what you're doing is horribly wrong. It's all about the benefit.
So have
the
you
reducing of suffering and the increase of well-being and happiness.
Sure, but okay, let's take just a step back. Like for instance, that situation. Okay, so the guy sells drugs to children, and He's just the terrible human being. I kill him. I give the money to my kids. We all enjoy ourselves. We drink. We have a blast of a time. We die. Nothing is left for the next generations.
I'd say you're selfish.
Universe, yeah, but that's what happened. In a parallel universe, the guy just decided to change his life or died, and his son sent the money to a foundation which helped the world around. You know, what I mean to say is, you don't know what's going to happen. You can't judge people. Like, you can't define, oh, that he had it coming, fuck that. I don't think that that's enough.
Yes, I can say that. I can absolutely say that. I can 100% say that. If somebody does something incredibly fucking stupid and they end up in a bad way because they did something that fucking stupid, yeah, they had it coming.
I didn't kill him because he was that way. I needed the money. I didn't care.
Well,
I didn't
yes.
give a fuck.
Okay, so you're adding a new layer. You're adding a new layer. You're adding a new layer to it. Yeah, sure. There's some more fucking nuance and subliminal shit to it that would make you selfish.
That's what I
mean. It's not objectively moral though, or it's not objectively moral or immoral. It's based on my opinion and your opinion. And if our opinions happen to coincide, stop. If our opinions happen to coincide together, then we can make rules based on that agreement. You don't want to be punched in the face. I don't want to be punched in the face. I have no intention of punching you in the face because I don't want to harm other people. I would hope you wouldn't want to punch me in the face because you don't want to harm other people. So we can take those two subjective moral standards, come together, decide that we want to live cooperatively, and make a law that says, you know what, here's a rule that says we're not going to punch each other in the fucking face. It's just that simple.
Okay. But to me, where I have trouble with that is, for example, the example that teachers bring up all the time when they debate this sort of situation is the countries in Africa that mutilate the feminine half of the population so that they don't feel pleasure because they don't think that that's legitimate. And the feminine, not everyone, of course, because we can't speak for all of the country, but everyone, quote unquote, is okay with this, and everyone says that this is legitimate and this is okay.
Yeah,
to
largely
do.
based on either cultural or religious beliefs.
Yeah, but what I mean to say is, to me,
and
there's
so here's
no
my
way
question.
that you can.
Here's my question: does what they do cause harm?
Yes.
Then it's immoral.
So you just defined a constant throughout. It doesn't mean that it's never subjective. If it causes harm, it shouldn't be done. That's what he just said, right? It's true. I'm not trying to pin you into a corner. Man. I just think that we're saying the same thing.
Well, then, great. Have a good weekend.
You too. Oh, let me just clarify something, because a guy before me was talking about this, and the guy after that tried to clarify too. The thing with the scientific method is that there are, like, you don't try and prove a theory. What you try and do is disprove a theory, and if you can't, then that theory is more solid. That's what we do. Like, the theories we have there are more valid are the ones that haven't been disproved. So none of them are fact or absolute or definite. They just, like, we tried to disprove them. We couldn't. Maybe in 2 years we might be able to, you know? So that's the thing. Not fact, it's the best version that we have. That's why we call them theory and not fact or truth. It's just, we tried to disprove them, we couldn't. So yeah, man, have a good weekend. I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Moving on to the next guest. All right, so we're having a connection issue. All right, hold on a second. He brought up a valid point that I couldn't necessarily answer because I didn't get a chance to think it through. But in retrospect, if you want to call reducing harm and increasing well-being or happiness as an objective moral standard, fine. Be my guest and call that an objective moral standard. But we cannot say that that morality comes from a position of authority. We're not going to say that morality comes from God. That's not a thing. If there is an objective moral standard, it's built on our society, which is built on each of our subjective moral standards. If it does harm to people, then it's probably a bad thing, and we should avoid doing it. If it increases the happiness or well-being of people, then it's probably a good thing. So, sure, I mean, that's kind of being pedantic and playing with words, but if you want to call suffering versus well-being an objective moral standard, I guess you could run with that. I don't see that it's necessary to call that an absolute.
Are you?
As best as I can be, considering. What's on your mind?
Alhamdulillah. So, I'm just listening to the live, and clearly you're an educated person that values intellect and fact, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, would you say that logic is our best tool to reach the truth?
Yes.
Perfect. Do you exist?
As far as I know.
Okay, perfect. So you exist, and logic is our best tool to reach the truth. Now, is your existence dependent on other variables?
Yeah, my parents would have had to have fucked for me to be here, and evolution would have had to have happened.
Perfect. Yeah, evolution's nice. So you exist, and your existence is dependent. Now, for every dependent variable, an independent variable must exist. Correct? Logically.
Yes, independent things would have had to have happened in order for dependent things to exist.
Exactly. Because that's the whole definition of dependent, right? A dependent variable is a variable that depends on an independent variable. That independent variable does not depend on the dependent. Okay. Now, if you take all dependent variables, and you can identify dependent variables as an infinite amount of dependent variables. If you take the set of all dependent variables, they will all depend on one independent variable. Or on an independent variable. Yeah. So that independent variable, right? So therefore you believe in an independent variable, and that independent variable has to be one. It can't be more than one independent variable.
I'm not sure how we can know that.
I'll prove it to you. Now, in order for there to be more than one independent variable, in order to quantify, you must distinguish between them. For example, if we say independent variable A and independent variable B, in order for me to affirm there is a independent variable B, I need to differentiate. So let's differentiate. Let's say independent variable A is all powerful and independent variable B is all knowing. The attributes of all knowing and all powerful will be dependent on independent variable A and independent variable B, which will make them dependent variables that will go into the set of all dependent variables, and we will be left with one independent variable with no attributes, because you cannot distinguish between them. If you cannot distinguish between them, you cannot quantify them. So it has to be one.
I will follow this logic. Keep going.
Okay, perfect. So now we're following this logic, and we're left with one independent variable that is the cause of all effects, because it is not dependent on anything else. And you are left with God.
Negative.
There you go. Why is that a negative?
You went from independent variable to God. How'd you get there?
Well, that's what I believe God is. God is the independent variable. The
independent.
independent.
Yeah, but okay. So what's the independent variable that created God?
There's well, that's what I'm telling you. If he was created, then he's dependent. That's why I said independent
Well,
variable. I
right.
didn't say
So
God.
dependent variables are based on an independent variable, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Right. So if there's dependent variables dependent on an independent variable, then you are just doing a reduction. What God created that, God created that, God created that, God created that God.
Yeah, you can have an
Where,
infinite.
as far as we understand from a scientific understanding, looking at the world from a natural perspective rather than a supernatural one, we come to the Big Bang. We don't know what started the Big Bang. We don't know what
Okay.
caused it. We know that
So
it
so let's.
happened, but we don't know what caused it. So it could have been one variable, or it could have been many variables. We
Yeah.
do not know. And the
Okay.
assertion that a God did it without evidence is dishonest thinking.
Okay. Can you just bear with me for 1 second? There's a reason why I asked you in the beginning, do you exist? Right? I didn't ask you whether I exist or somebody else exists. I asked you whether you exist, which is a natural, intuitive answer. It is intuition that you exist, which is a part of nature, unless you tell me that nature doesn't exist. Anyways,
No,
if you take
intuition, I don't know that intuition is necessarily a part of nature. I think it's largely based on instinct, which requires a brain.
so are you telling me that you question your existence? Does nature not exist?
I think you would be dishonest to say you didn't question your existence.
No, it wouldn't be dishonest. If you question your existence, the fact that you affirm a questioning of existence, you have affirmed an existence of that questioning. Therefore, you exist. Anyways,
So,
right?
okay, great. That still
Okay,
doesn't lead us to God.
but just that's why I said bear with me. I didn't say forget God for now. If you take an infinite amount of dependent variables, which is what I said specifically, so you can tell me God created God, God created God, right? Those will still be dependent variables. So you can take an infinite amount of gods in your definition, right? Well, not my definition, in your definition, they will still be dependent variables. Now the infinite set of all dependent variables will still have one independent variable. Now, whether you want to
Right.
call it
My
whatever you
question
want to
is,
call it,
how do you
it's
get
still an
from an
independent
independent
variable.
stop. How do you get from an independent variable, which very well could have been a natural independent variable, to a supernatural independent variable called God?
Okay,
You're making a
what
link. There's
natural?
a gap.
So what natural independent variable exists?
We don't know. That's
No, but the thing is,
where science. That's one. Stop. That's where science is right now. What you're doing is God of the gaps, because we don't know what caused the Big Bang. Therefore, God. That's not how
no,
this
I didn't.
works. That's intellectually
Listen.
dishonest.
I don't care if it's the Big Bang or if it's the singularity. It makes no difference. I'm literally telling you that the universe is infinite. That's literally what I'm
The
saying. The
universe is
universe
not
is
infinite.
infinite.
No, it's not.
Who told you it's not infinite? The Big Bang is
It
literally
had a
infinite.
beginning.
Okay. And there are metaphysicians.
It cannot
One
be
second.
infinite if it had a beginning.
Okay, one second, 1 second. Let me finish, and then I'll let you speak, and you can finish what you're saying. If you want, just write down what I say. Right? There, metaphysicians of today, right, will affirm, according to the theory of time they believe in, which according to space. By the way, this is science. According to the uh, uh, um, space-time relativity equation from Einstein, today people believe, metaphysicians believe in the B theory of time, which is that time is the fourth dimension because light can only travel the light travels the fastest, therefore time is dependent on that. And what the B theory of time says is that the present, the future, and the past all exist at once, and it is infinite. Now, if you don't want to believe in that, that is still science, right? That's based on Einstein's equation. Now, even if you take an infinite amount of time, that will still be all dependent variables. Therefore, there'll still be an independent variable that caused all of the dependent effects. I'm
Right.
done. Go ahead.
Yes. Great. There will be an independent variable. Awesome. I will agree with everything up to that point.
Yes.
You don't know what that independent variable was.
Okay.
You have no fucking clue.
No. Well, let's look into it. Right now, we know that this independent variable has to be infinite. Do you know why?
First off, again, I'm going to say this. Space, the universe, is not infinite. It had a fucking beginning. So infinite goes out the window right now. Secondly,
Okay,
you are
I didn't.
making a God of the gaps argument. Where science doesn't understand something, you have asserted without evidence God based on speculation. That independent variable could have been a natural one, not a supernatural one.
Okay, you stated that time has a beginning, and I just told you that according to science, because you like science.
No, metaphysics is not science. Metaphysics is philosophy.
Oh, so physics is not part of science?
I said metaphysics is not science. Metaphysics is philosophy. Physics is actual science.
Listen, is the space-time relativity equation, right? Is that equation from Einstein?
That's
science
actual physics. That's not metaphysics.
Okay, perfect. So according to actual physics, right? According to actual physics, according to actual science, time is infinite. But let's go
No,
with your
it is not.
Wait.
No,
Okay,
it is not.
Relax.
No,
It's okay.
no.
Just wait. I understand. Okay, we get it.
You're making an assumption. You're making an assumption about things, dude. You're going
Bro,
way off in left field with this.
Just relax. Wait.
I am relaxed just fine. Stop telling me to relax. There was a beginning. The beginning of time in the universe
there's a beginning.
was
We get
the Big fucking Bang, which by definition means that time and space is not infinite.
Okay, it still doesn't change the argument, right? You saying that that the independent variable can be natural. What I'm trying to explain to you here is that anything that is part of the physical world will have a limit. Because it has a limit, therefore it will be dependent on the restriction. Therefore, it is a dependent
Would you make
variable.
up your mind?
Can you just wait?
You keep contradicting it. You just contradicted yourself like heavily.
Okay, just 1 second. Just relax, right? Let me finish what I'm saying, and then you can go ahead and say what you want to say. I didn't cut you off. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that if you're going to affirm that the Big Bang is the independent variable, for example, well, the independent variable is physical. It is made up of energy and matter. Matter and energy moves from one point to another. If that is the case, therefore, it is dependent on change. Now, when we go to the independent variable, when we're identifying the independent variable must be infinite, because if it has any limitations, it will be dependent on the limit.
Therefore, can't prove that.
Well, I just did.
No, you didn't. You speculated it.
No, I didn't.
That's
Do you understand?
Speculation.
Okay.
That's
Let me ask
speculation.
You something.
That is not evidence.
Okay. Can you differentiate between a speculation and evidence?
Yeah. Observed and experimented.
Okay. And where did what part of what I said was illogical?
Speculation. No, dude, for starters, again, I'm going to go back to this. The independent variable could have been a natural independent variable, not necessarily a supernatural one. And even if you're remotely in the ballpark here, how do you get from creator God as an independent start to dependency to don't fuck guys or don't wear clothing to mix fabrics or 300,000 years of human history before God decided to step in and say jack shit about anything?
Okay. So let's not change the topic. Let's stick to the
I'm not
independent
changing
variable.
the topic. Now, I want to know how you get from this independent variable to God.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Don't worry. We'll get to it. Now, do you understand that your physical arm is limited? Do you accept that?
Yes, obviously.
Okay. Since your physical arm is limited because it has a certain length, therefore you are restricted by that length. Therefore, you are dependent. You are dependent on the length of your arm. Therefore, you are a dependent variable. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that whether you want to call it supernatural, whether you want to call it natural, it doesn't make a difference to me. The independent variable must be infinite, because if it has a 1 second, infinite. I didn't cut you off. Just relax.
It does not.
Just relax.
I'm going to interrupt you and fucking correct you when you say outrageous shit.
No, relax.
It does not
breathe.
need
I'll
to
breathe
be
with you,
infinite.
bro. here's the thing: if you're going to be
Demonstrate.
an intellectual,
You're
you
on
need
my
to
fucking time.
speak.
Demonstrate that
Relax.
it needs to be
It
infinite.
doesn't make you look any better when you scream. I'm just
I
letting
don't
you know
care
that.
about how I
Just
look.
wait.
I don't give a fuck what people think of me.
Relax, bro. Relax. Breathe.
No,
Breathe.
you fucking
No, bro.
relax.
Listen, you
You're
gotta
sitting
breathe.
here
I'm telling
making
you.
bold-faced ass
Relax.
assumptions,
Listen.
making assertions
Whether
without
you want to
fucking
call it
evidence.
supernatural, I didn't cut you off, by the way. So you're gonna need to
I
let me
don't
speak.
care.
No, I know the truth hurts, but just
It's not the
embrace it.
truth.
Just
The
embrace
truth is what can be proven, not what can be asserted. Nothing you have said is even
Bro,
remotely close
just
to
relax.
truth.
Relax. Do you
No,
understand? Do you
I'm not
understand
gonna fucking
that?
relax.
Okay, no, but I'm telling you to relax, so you should relax.
I don't
Okay?
give a fuck what you're saying. You're wrong.
You're clearly dependent on your emotions. Okay, so just
Yeah,
relax.
and you're clearly dependent on dumb thinking.
Listen, bro. What I'm trying to tell you here is that if the independent variable is limited in any way, it will be dependent on that limit. So it must be infinite, because if it is dependent
No.
on a limit, it becomes a dependent variable.
Nope.
Nope. What?
So okay,
Just
fine,
prove it.
fine. I will do one more grant and say it must be infinite. How do you prove that's a god?
Okay, perfect. Now that we know it is infinite,
No,
and
we don't know. I'm just granting it. Come on,
okay,
man.
let's grant
Try
it.
to be intellectually honest.
Sure, let's grant it. So he granted to us a infinite variable that is existing.
Wait. Are you using mathematical? You're using math to
logic
prove
is
the
math.
existence of a god?
Listen, I didn't say. Did I say God? I said independent variable. Did I say God?
Yes, you have said God multiple times.
Well, forget God. I'm not proving
Hold
God.
on,
I'm proving independent variable.
Stop. So I wasn't really sure where you were going with this independent variable, and I had heard it somewhere before, and it was nagging me in the back of my skull. So I went and I Googled dependent variable, and sure as shit, you are trying to prove the existence of independent and dependent variables. Dependent variable, noun, mathematics, a variable often denoted by y, whose value depends on that of another. This is literal fucking physics math. You're trying to prove God with a mathematical fucking equation.
Did I say God?
Yes.
I said independent variable. No, I said independent variable.
You said God. You said independent variable, therefore God. Your exact fucking words.
Okay. Well, you granted
mathematicians have been doing this. Mathematicians have been doing this shit for fucking literal thousands of years, and none of them have ever proven God. Yet here you are in my live on TikTok, instead of writing a scientific paper and submitting it to a journal, trying to convince me that God exists through mathematical means.
Okay. What's your point? I don't understand where this has anything to do with our conversation right now. It doesn't change the fact that you just granted one independent variable that is infinite.
Great. How do you know that that infinite independent variable is anything other than a natural explanation? Okay,
perfect. You said you exist, and your existence is dependent. So if
I don't care.
All dependent
that's not answering my question.
I didn't cut you off.
I granted you this argument that an independent variable would have to be infinite. How do you prove that it's a God?
Okay. Now I'm getting there, so don't cut me off, so I can explain to you how. If you cut me off, I won't be able to explain to you how.
I really want to listen to you debate Matt Dillahunty.
Who is that?
The host of the Atheist Experience. It airs on YouTube at 4:30 Central Time every Sunday.
Yeah, bring him on, bro.
No. You go watch the Atheist Experience on YouTube, and you call into their show with this argument. I want to see Matt wipe the fucking. Actually, better than that. Go to Talk Heathen, which is basically the same thing. It's a call-in show, and talk to Jesus Mike about this, because he has a fucking degree in physics, or at least he's working on one. And I'm sure he would love to eat this shit up.
How do you know I don't have a PhD?
Don't give a fuck.
Exactly. Okay. Anyways, let's go back to what we're saying. One independent variable that is infinite. Now you affirmed your existence, and your existence is dependent. You will also understand that for every dependent variable, there must be an independent variable. Therefore, all dependent existences will all be dependent on the necessary existence. Therefore, he is an infinite existence. With this infinite existence, he will be also all powerful, because then he will have no limitations, because he's infinite. Because you currently have power. You have the power to move your hand. Since your power is dependent on an infinite independent variable of power, and that independent variable of power is infinite, therefore he is all powerful. Now, knowledge. You have knowledge. Because your knowledge is also dependent on an independent variable, and that independent variable is infinite, therefore the knowledge is infinite, therefore he's all-knowing. Look at that. We're moving on pretty quick.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. We're not moving anywhere from that point, because you jumped from an independent, infinite,
yes,
to consciousness.
Yes.
Nope. How? How'd you get from an independent, infinite to a consciousness?
I like that question. I like when you ask how, because it makes up for a good conversation. Do you accept that any limitations, right? So if you are limited by something, you are dependent on that limit, just like how you are dependent on the length of your arm.
Sure.
Okay. Since the independent variable cannot be dependent on anything else, therefore it cannot have any limitations, because the moment it has a limit, it will therefore be dependent.
Okay, again, I've already agreed with the independent-dependent thing, just for the sake of argument.
Yeah, but
just for the sake of argument. But that does not.
I understand. But
it does not refute the possibility of natural.
No, you can call it natural. It doesn't make a difference to me. But what I'm trying to tell you is
there's
that the
difference between an all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipresent God and a natural thing. Those are two very different things. This one's supernatural. This one's natural. This one can be measured. This one cannot.
Now, I understand. And you're proving my point. Because if this independent variable has a limit, it's no longer independent. It will become dependent.
I disagreed that it could be infinite. So fucking what? That doesn't give it a consciousness. It doesn't make it anything other than a potential natural thing.
No, okay, one second. So the fact that it has to be infinite, do you have knowledge?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now your knowledge is dependent, okay? And therefore it will be dependent on the necessary on the necessary knowledge. It will be dependent on the independent variable. So therefore, because that independent variable has no limit, its knowledge that you're dependent on will be limitless.
No.
You can't say no to a logical argument.
I didn't get my knowledge from God.
Did I say God? I said independent variable. Whatever that independent variable is.
You earlier said independent variable equals God. That is what you fucking said.
No, I didn't say God. I said independent variable.
Oh, you're done. Go argue with Matt.
The truth hurts, bro.
Go argue with Matt. Go argue with Jesus Mike. You're full of shit. You cannot just break down all of fucking nature to an independent versus dependent variable fucking mathematical equation. Mathematicians have been around for thousands of years, and they're a fuck of a lot smarter than you.
Okay, why don't you logically prove?
First off, light isn't contingent on this. It's only contingent for objects, and objects cannot move. But it's not physically talking about the expansion of the universe itself. The universe itself has no time frame. And also photons exist, and they don't experience time. So I don't know what that guest was trying to get on, but he was actually factually wrong. You there, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, the light only applies to objects that move. It has nothing to do with the expansion of the rate of the universe itself. The expansion of the universe itself is actually quite faster than dark matter and dark energy. So when we look at universes from the past, yes, we can use a telescope, and by light we could tell and look back into time. But those universes those galaxies themselves are still moving at the normal rate of time itself. But when we look back at it, we look at it from a time lens of the past. But they're still going on the normal time frame. And that is how you know that the expansion of the universe itself is faster than the speed of light, because you have so many speeds, like light years exist, etc. So I don't know what that guest is going on. All he was doing is be a whole lot of presumption, because he's a preceptor, and precepts only get you so far in philosophy.
Well,
Especially,
the idea that you could prove God with a independent versus dependent variable mathematical equation was just dumb.
yeah,
He moved
knowledge only
from-
knowledge only goes so far, because knowledge only exists because a brain exists.
Right.
So
And he
you would have to
he went
prove.
from independent variable that's infinite to God. He didn't. He just kept assigning attributes to it based on the fact that humans have knowledge, or the humans have an arm that has a dependent reach, or whatever. I don't know. I want to see him take on Matt or Jesus Mike.
Yeah, Dillahunty wouldn't. Dillahunty doesn't put up with presuppers that much.
Not really. All right, thanks, Adam. I want to move on to the next one.
No problem.
Well, I want to first off hit on something very important for the. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I want to first off hit on something very important. First off, we have to deny the past of everyone who has come before me. They have all been wrong and have all been incorrect from a very biblical standpoint. First off, I want to recognize who I am. First off, there is no such thing as what people call religion. Religion is a man-made concept that came up years and years and years upon time. In the scriptures, it says that we must all speak the same thing. It's impossible for all of us to read from the exact same book or the exact same dialogue or the exact same scriptures and come up with 10 different sects of so-called Christianity or Muslim or whatever else man claimed to be. There is only one
definition of the word religion is a belief in God or gods. That's the definition of the word.
Yeah, see, but that's man's definition. A man's definition.
Man invented fucking language.
No, God invented language. But that's
no, man invented language.
But let me give you the
language existed before your God existed.
Absolutely not. It says now let me give you the real. In Genesis, it says that God created all things. He created man. He created the heavens. He created the earth. He created all things that have ever been to succumb in existence. It says in First Corinthians First Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 14. No man can understand things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him.
And yet here you are trying to fucking talk for God.
But no. When it says a man, it does not mean a natural man. It means a man without God inside of him. See, when a man accepts God,
how do you know what that means?
It says in the scriptures, when Jesus died on the cross, there was a man named Thomas. He was an apostle or a disciple of Jesus Christ
Thomas
himself.
the Doubter. We know Thomas the Doubter.
Now, Thomas the Doubter, the main thing that he's onto is the fact that when Jesus came down, man did not believe him. Even in Noah's time, when they tried to get, Noah was preaching to his people for 120 years.
No.
While he was preaching to his people about this rain and this flood that should come, they did not listen to Noah.
There was no flood.
I will prove to you that there was a flood.
There was no flood.
I'm going to go to
Explain to me how animals indigenous to South America, North America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, animals that are indigenous to these continents got there from the Middle East without leaving out behind any evidence.
First off, that's a good question. Let me hit you with something. So there was a tower called the Tower of Babel or Babel. When man, as you know, men are very foolish on their own. It says in the scriptures, no man can understand knowledge except it is given to them by God. Man is very foolish on their own. So due to that,
negative,
said,
false.
They wanted
absolutely. Not only is what you just said gross and disgusting,
okay,
but it's horribly fucking false. The knowledge that we gained through self-sacrifice on a level that's just unreal. And we have achieved a lot in a very short period of fucking relative time.
What do you mean?
And we did so in spite of your religion, not because of it.
No, it says in the scriptures, God reigns on the just and the unjust. Even if a man is wicked, he will allow him to get his agenda off.
Not my point. I
So
wasn't talking about just or unjust. I was talking about knowledge. Human knowledge is gained.
Knowledge comes from God.
Human knowledge is gained through observation and experimentation. It is not given to us through divinity.
Listen. This is what you're missing. God has been the leader of our people for years. Years upon years has God led his people.
The Christian God has only existed for about 3,500 to 4,000 years.
First off, I want to hit that theory. There is no such thing as a Christian God. There's only God.
Yes, there is.
God is
yes,
God.
There is.
Man has listen, hold on.
No.
I want to hit you.
No.
Man has made this theory. Listen to this. Man has come up with the theory that there is a difference or a belief that this God has only existed for so long. God has been God since the beginning of time. What has happened was man took it upon themselves and separated God. God is misunderstood. See this thing called religion. You have the Pentecostal, the Apostolic, the Baptist, all this other foolishness. It's not God. God has never told any man to be.
So you're the only one person on the entire fucking planet that has ever understood God.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that religion has.
You're telling everybody else they're wrong. You just said everybody else on the planet is wrong.
No,
you are the only one with some correct interpretation of God.
I said that religion is wrong. The so-called Christianity is wrong. Christian is a person. Christianity is a religion. There is no such thing as Christianity. Christianity was created by man. Christian is a person. And in Acts 11:26 was the first place.
You are literally reading a fucking Bible written by man.
The book was not written by man. Let me finish.
And you're not even reading an original copy.
Listen, you have to let me finish. First off, you said the book was written by man. It says in the scriptures, nothing of man can come on his own. For who has had the mind of God to instruct him? What man in his right mind would tell you it's not good to have sex with a woman before you're married? What man in his right mind would tell you it's wicked to think about such things such as masturbation and porn? What man would tell you in his right mind it's wrong to do certain things?
What the fuck are you talking about? You're literally contradicting yourself. You're sitting there, you're telling me that man can't know God, and then you're telling me that you know God based on a book that has been written, rewritten, retranslated, we don't have original copies of. You have no fucking idea what the original books said that led to the book. You are stuck. Shut the fuck up.
No,
no idea what the original goddamn book said.
Listen, a translation does not change the context of a book.
Mistranslation does change the context.
Not the scriptures. Not the
scriptures. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And then
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
You said
mistranslation.
You said a man.
We're done.
Exactly. You have no.
No, not exactly. You're a fucking idiot.
Argument. You have no argument.
Hold on, before you and I get started.
No, you're fine.
I want to finish this rant really quick.
Go for it.
Listen, people in the comments, I want you to understand. Listen to this. No man can know God because man is foolish. But that guy knows who God is. That guy knows what God has to say, based on an interpretation written by men who don't know what God wants.
No shit, dude.
Fucking stupid.
So I've been coming back and forth to your live for the past couple hours or so. Now I've gotten myself in some hot water with the Christians because I am so goddamn sick and tired of people using Leviticus 18:22 against the LGBTQ plus community. Okay, pisses me off. Because Christians will really fucking sit there and be like, well, when Jesus sacrificed himself, like that was the ultimate sacrifice, whatever, it forgives you for all your sins, and then be like, oh, the Old Testament is null and void, and then quote the fucking Old Testament. They'll literally fucking quote it. And it's ridiculous because at the end of the day, Christians will really just use their religion as a scapegoat to be hateful and bigoted against people that they don't agree with. And it's so disgusting to me.
Yep.
It's so gross. Now, don't get me wrong. Now, you'll probably disagree with me on this, and I totally get it. I understand why some people feel the need to have a religion. I understand that a lot of people are probably just real fucking scared of what happens when you die and need to
I
feel...
agree with you on that.
Right.
I think religion by and large is based on emotion and fear, and
yeah,
largely emotional manipulation of children, which is why
yes,
religion has lasted as long as it has.
absolutely.
But I mean, no, I agree with you on all of that. And I think to some degree that some people find it necessary. And it would never be in my position. It's never to try to, remove people from their faith if that's what they need to get through the day. Where I draw the line is them adding it to public policy, law, public
Yes.
school. I think that if you're going to be religious, you should shut the fuck up and keep it to yourself.
Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, well, the Bible tells me to share it with people. You can share your beliefs with other people without forcing it upon them. It's okay to share what you believe.
I would prefer that they would wait until they're asked rather than knocking on somebody's door.
Oh, I get letters in my mailbox all the time because I'm a bald, pierced, tattooed woman. So I get all kinds of fucking letters in my mail all the time. People who have literally, I got a letter in the mail last month that was handwritten and had very obviously been handwritten outside my house because they had seen me go out to smoke and knew what I looked like and described me. And that's gross. That's so gross.
It's stalking behavior. Christians are creepy. I mean, not all Christians, obviously.
Right.
I mean, but by and large, they want to control your behavior.
Absolutely.
You have to dress this way, act this way, fuck in this position, all that shit.
I think it's so funny that Christians will really use a text that has been stepped on by politicians and people within the church for 2,000 years to be like, this is what you should do with your life. Just because it's something that you believe in doesn't mean that you're correct. Period. I've had Christians straight up come up to my father. My father is gay and has pride tattoos. Come up to my dad and cuss him the fuck out for loving men. Excuse you? I'm sorry. I don't understand your problem. I really don't. I had a video go semi-viral a while back where I was pointing out the hypocrisy in the Old Testament because of Christians who point out Leviticus 18:22, and comparing the other ridiculous shit that's said in the Old Testament. Women were literally sold to men for 50 shekels in the Bible if he had sex with them and they were a virgin. He paid the father 50 shekels.
Some versions of that Deuteronomy passage include rape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, they can't agree on which version is correct.
Nope.
At all. I'm sorry, I own 3 separate
that young man
Bibles.
who came in before you. He's reading from a specific interpretation of the Bible. He's not reading from all Bibles.
Right.
It was...
Right, exactly. And I'm sorry, but even if God proved himself to be real, came down, stood right in front of me and said, I created everything, I'm not going to worship somebody who mass genocide, mass infanticide, had so many people kill their children in the Bible.
Yeah, there's an analogy that I use for that. If you and I were to sit down and put a puzzle together, we would use critical thinking skills and pattern recognition skills to complete that puzzle. If the Christian God of the Old Testament was to sit down and do a puzzle, he would immediately become pissed off that 2 puzzle pieces didn't fit together the way he wanted them to, and he would throw the whole puzzle in the garbage because that's his answer for everything. He doesn't like it. He gets pissed off and he kills it or tortures it.
Right. Well, the other thing too is the main other thing that comes up with differences in beliefs regarding religion is abortion, right? Cool. They will literally quote, there's a Jeremiah passage that says where God is saying basically that he knew people before they were here. But they leave out the whole other part of the passage where he's specifically speaking to Jeremiah. It has nothing to do with the widespread populace. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do
Well,
specifically with Jeremiah.
this entire religion was for God's favored people.
Yes. And it's so gross because, like, there's a pastor on here. I can't remember exactly what his name is. I saved his video the other day. I wish I could remember. But somebody had asked him a question regarding abortion in the Bible, and he referenced that passage, and he goes, "Do you really think that if God created everything, heaven and earth, and he's all-knowing, that he wouldn't know that that woman's going to abort her child? Do you really think that he wouldn't know that already?" Like, I don't
here's another thing.
understand.
If Christians were really holding to their belief the way they say they would, then babies dying, or well, fetuses dying before they turn into babies,
Mhm.
they just go straight to heaven.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to send something straight to heaven?
Give God full custody.
Yeah.
Sorry about it.
And and the Bible is very, it says life begins at first breath, and
Right. And
it
just
a whole
bothers
thing.
me so much that they feel the need to insert themselves in everything. And, like, I love my mother, but she is like, she would be your worst nightmare. Okay. I love her to death, but she's like a conservative Christian Republican. And so
Which
we
is
have like
literally a contradiction in terms based on what they say.
oh yeah, 100%. But can't
I
say
love
anything.
Jesus, except I don't want to help the poor or the sick or the needy.
Yeah. And, like, we physically cannot talk about religion. Like, we don't talk about religion, abortion, politics, or the LGBTQ plus community, because it's just gonna have a fight. It's not worth it. And, like, we didn't talk for a couple of years, and she wouldn't let me talk to my siblings, so I keep the peace. But, like, it's so crazy because her father, my grandfather, is my best friend, and he's heavily involved in the church. We can sit there and talk about religion all day long, because he never approaches it in a way that's like, I want you to convert to my religion. He just wants to understand where I'm coming from, and vice versa. And that's how it should be.
Some people, yeah, that's how it should be, but some people take their religion very emotionally.
Yes.
I mean, I don't get banned because I'm intellectually dishonest. I get banned because people have an emotional response to my content.
Right. And, like, they don't I've been reading your comics for like 2 hours.
They call me hateful, and then go out of their way to hate me.
And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna pray for you." Don't pray for me. I don't need your prayers.
Don't pray for me. I mean, Christians will scream the loudest. They're the loudest one in the room to say, "You're not respecting my religion," and then turn around and disrespect everybody else's beliefs.
Absolutely. I actually had a conversation with my mother about this recently, because when I go visit her, she lives in another state. Now my brother is 8 with autism. She wants to raise him her way, which I understand. I respect that. And he very much believes in God and everything, but I'm basically forced to go to church when I'm there. And so I told her, I was like, I'm not going to go to church anymore. And you need to stop disrespecting my beliefs. You don't have to like them, but you can respect them. And she goes, I'm not going to respect them, but I can respect your right to have them. And I was like, that's what I fucking mean. Like, that's what I mean. You don't need to, like, look at me like I'm crazy and call me out of my name every time you don't agree with me. And though the Christians are the first ones to cuss you out when you don't agree with them 100%.
Right.
It's crazy how fast they turn from, like, oh, I'm just a sweet little old lady, to the biggest cunt you've ever met in your life. Like, it's so fast.
Yeah. It's a huge, massive contradiction that they, based on emotional reasoning, they don't recognize the contradiction in their behavior.
Yeah, no. And it's really upsetting, because we could have every religion on this planet and still be peaceful if people would just respect each other. It wouldn't be that hard.
If Christians recognize that they could be Christian and recognize that their religious belief is their own personal journey, and they're allowed to have that and keep it to themselves, we could do that. We could have that peaceful society where, you mind your business, I'll mind my business. If I'm not hurting anybody, leave me alone. If you're not hurting anybody, I'll leave you alone. We could do that. The
Right.
Christians aren't invested in that kind of idea.
Yeah.
What they want is confirmation bias. They want an echo chamber. They want
Absolutely.
people to believe what they believe so that they feel justified in their belief.
Absolutely.
They're trying to convince themselves as much as they're trying to convince anybody else.
And it's not just Christianity either. Like I said, I had that video go kind of viral, and it went off like almost exactly 2 months ago, and I'm still getting comments on it. And yesterday somebody commented and they were like, "Hey, can you do a video similar to this for the Quran? Because Islam is just as corrupt, if not worse, than Christianity," is what their comment said. Those aren't my words.
Right.
And I
It
said,
is.
unfortunately, no, I won't do a video on that. I grew up in the church, and I've read the Bible many times, and I'm not going to speak on a religion I'm unfamiliar with. And they fired back with, "Then look something up." No,
No, it's not how you do
I've
that.
been reading the Bible, and like I went to church for 19 years, and I still go periodically when I visit my mother. And I've read the Bible probably like 20 or 30 times. It's a religion that I'm comfortable speaking on. I'm not going to just look up the Quran and give it a quick once over and then speak on a religion that means a lot to a lot of people.
Well, that's something that Christians love to do. They love to talk about things with confidence that they know nothing about.
Yes.
So when they sit there and say evolution isn't true, they don't know jack shit about evolution. They don't know how we discovered evolution. They don't know how we observed evolution. They don't understand the experiments that were done to prove evolution. But they will sit there with confidence saying that evolution isn't true. And that's just how their worldview is. They weren't taught how to think. They were taught what to think.
Exactly. And that, like, I vehemently refused for years when I was a kid to go to church. Like, they would put me in Sunday school class or whatever, and I'd just leave. Like, I was like, no. And me and my boyfriend, we've decided that if and when we have children, they will not be forced to go to any sort of religious establishment. And if they want to go when they're older, fucking sure, that's your prerogative. But I don't think parents should be forcing kids into anything.
Nope.
I have so much religious-based trauma, it's not even funny. And
have
it's
you
so disheartening.
have you gone through recovering from religion?
I haven't.
You should try recoveringfromreligion.org or the Secular Therapy Project. Either one of those might give you some help.
Okay. But
I mean, I think you're doing a pretty good job on your own, but hey, you know, a little extra advice might go a long way.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so disgusting to, like, the big issue with me and religion is the way that they treat the folks in the LGBTQ plus community. My father's a gay man. I'm bisexual myself, and it's gross.
My biggest issue is the ignorance that it inspires. That ignorance leading to the issues with LGBTQ, leading to the issues with women, leading to issues with BIPOC. Religion just spreads ignorance. It's what it does. It spreads hate, fear, tribalism. Faith is not a pathway to truth. Faith is very much a pathway to literal ignorance.
Absolutely. Somebody commented on that same video I've been talking about, saying that it seems like I did a lot of work to attack religion. And normally I don't give those people the time of day, but that comment was so fucking stupid, I had to. So I responded to it with a video, and I said, nothing I said in that video had anything to do with attacking religion. In fact, I grew up in a very religious household. However, Christians will just disregard and cherry pick whatever they want to believe and not believe in the Bible, and they won't even read the damn thing. They don't follow it to the T like they're supposed to, but they'll still use it to disparage other people because they don't agree with their decisions in their personal life. That's right. Gross.
Because when they look at other people, what they want is they want to see a reflection.
Absolutely.
They don't want to see pluralism. They want to see conformity. Yeah. They want to feel comfortable in this world. They want complacency. They want to know what to expect, because when they know what to expect, they have nothing to fear.
And that's why I think most religions exist, because people need to believe that there's something more. Personally, now this is what I believe. Not everybody's going to agree with me, but you know the chemical DMT, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a gland in your brain, and scientists think that that's what makes you dream. They don't know for sure, but it's the same thing that gives you like a really intense trip. Now, I've never done it, but just like every other gland in your body, it releases when you die. And I think that those near-death experiences and stuff like that are just that gland releasing that chemical, and that's what causes those hallucinations.
That's where the science has taken us this far. Near-death experiences are just DMT secretions in the brain to deal with the anxiety of death.
And I think that's what happens when you die, and then I don't think there's anything else. And I don't understand why Christians think that, like if you think everything, like everybody good goes to heaven, where the fuck do all the animals go and stuff? You think that your dog just doesn't go anywhere?
Oh, no, they'll make special excuses for their animals. They seem to think heaven is someplace where you hang out with your family and your loved ones and your friends, and it's not according to the Bible. In the Bible, heaven is prostrate before God in eternal worship.
Yes. I very firmly believe that when you die, you exist only in the memories of the people who cared about you and the people who didn't.
No.
Like anybody you've met, you exist in some way. But that's just what I believe. I think religion, in the way that Christians perpetuate religion, is so toxic and gross.
Very much.
And there's this, now it hasn't been looked into fully, but there's this old scroll printed on animal skin, supposedly written by the Apostle Paul, that claims that Jesus wasn't even the one crucified and that it was Judas.
No idea. And it's all just nonsense, and none of it adds up or makes any sense. Like one of my favorite content creators is Captain Dadpool. And recently he has reiterated a point that I've heard him make in the past, that the books of the Bible were each written independently of each other. And they were never meant to be put together into a single book because they don't coincide with each other. They contradict each other quite often.
Absolutely. So, several authors of the Bible wrote their like books at different times and never even met each other.
Yep.
And you're going to tell me that, like, oh, well, this all goes together. No. No, it doesn't. And those same Christians that will tell you that the Old Testament is null and void after the sacrifice of Jesus apparently don't read the New Testament either, because it tells you to like gouge out your eyes if they cause you to sin, and to chop off people's hands if it causes you to sin, and all types of crazy shit. But you don't see anybody doing that unless they're like in Florida or whatever. People in Florida
on bath salts.
But it's
thanks for coming in. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to like say my little piece or whatever, and give you a break from arguing with idiots. So
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Alrighty.
Again, see what he's got to say. Ow. Oh, he disconnected. Let's go to Deer.
Yourself?
Oh, just getting off work. Doing pretty good, man.
Yeah, that seems to be a thing. I'm just having a day-to-day. Dialysis kind of sucked this morning, so.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I kind of lost your audio. I can't hear you.
I said, I bet it did. I've never been through it, but I know quite a few people that have.
Al? What's on your mind?
Well, I listen to your show a lot. I don't necessarily always believe with everything you're saying, but I'm kind of addicted to it, really. Like, cause I consider myself a conservative Christian, and I know you think that's the issue with the entire world, and I'm not gonna argue with you about it because I can't prove that.
Well, I mean, if somebody could prove to me that conservative Christians actually have a policy that somehow benefits our society, I'd give them the benefit of the doubt. But so far, I haven't heard one.
The only thing that drives me nuts is like, even though I'm a Christian, and I'm an open-minded Christian, okay? All right? I don't have a problem with gay and lesbians. You know, that's their thing. If they want to do it, then that's what they want to do. That's how they want to live their life, and I don't have a problem with that. I feel bad because I'm a Christian and I'm getting a bad name of it because of other people that want to do
Well,
that kind of
you
shit.
just said you're a Christian conservative, and your party votes against protections and rights for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, but I can't agree with the Democrats. So, you know,
On
I
what?
don't agree with it on anything they do. I mean,
Like what?
I don't believe in a whole lot of social programs and stuff like that. Food stamps, unemployment,
All right.
that
Well,
kind
here
of
you go.
stuff. That's
Here,
desire.
I'll give you my personal experience on this front. Right here, I have my Venmo and my Cash App. I also have PayPal. And right here, I'm on kidney failure dialysis. I get $1,000 a month disability. Explain to me how the fuck I'm supposed to survive on $1,000 a month.
I didn't say there was a right answer for it. I'm not saying that there's anything
There
wrong
is
with
a
it.
right answer for it. It's called a social program that people can fall on if they hit hard times. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, you know, on when you have hard times. I agree. You know, you need help, there should be somebody there to give it to you. I'm not disagreeing with you on that one, brother, at all.
Well, that's what social programs do.
But not, some of them I think need to be cut. I don't believe in a bunch of social programs. I don't think that we should be living off of the government. There are other
We
ways
don't.
of doing it. There's a lot of people that do. I know
No,
you
there's not.
seem to with the 5% unemployment rate, or 4% it was, and 90%, 96% of the people that are still working at whatever. I don't think that's right. I mean, yeah, if you need help, get your help. Do it like fucking Cinderella Man, you know? He got his help when he needed it, and then fucking paid all the money back.
Look,
you know, there are people that have.
Hold on. I want to give you the current numbers as listed by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The unemployment rate is currently at 4%. That is 6.5 million people in the United States that are currently unemployed.
Yeah, out of 336 million people that live in the
Out of 336 million people. Of those 6.5 million people, how many of them are disabled? How many of them cannot physically work? How many of them are elderly?
There's the question. How many of them are 62 and above, and they're living off of retirement and everything and pensions? How many of them can't work because they're disabled in your situation? Yeah.
Right. So when you reduce that number down, the vast majority of the people who are unemployed in the United States are unemployed for a good reason. It is very, very few, minuscule number of people that are abusing the system. It's almost negligible.
I think the people that, a lot of the people that do get it deserve it. Now, there are a lot of people there.
Well, the problem with this is conservatives keep voting against increasing these safety nets for people. So then the people who actually need the help aren't actually getting any help.
And I understand that, okay? It's like at work, at my job, okay? I work for a tree company, and they keep imposing all these safety rules and stuff because people keep fucking it up for everybody else. And I think that's part of the problem is you get all these people out there that are abusing the system and that are fucking it up for people that are well deserving of it like yourself.
Right. I agree with you. I agree. Some people fuck it up. But the people right now, so those lazy few people are fucking it up for everybody else because of the conservative party. It's not Democrats that are defunding social programs because they think people are lazy and don't want to work. It's conservatives that are defunding social programs because they think people are lazy and don't want to work. I lost your audio, bud. You disconnected.
Lost your audio, bud.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry, I had a call come in.
Oh, you're back.
Apologize.
That's all right. So look, name for me one social policy written by the conservatives that's going to help our society.
This is why I started to do my research before I got on here.
Well, no, I'm serious, because you're voting conservative without understanding the platform. Right there on the right there on the RNC website. Yeah, I think it's page 7, if I'm not mistaken. It literally says that the Republican Party wants to overturn the ruling on same-sex marriage. Christian conservatives do not want gay people to have rights.
And I can't, as a Democrat, yeah, you want it as a Democrat, you know, they want you guys to have the gay community to have rights. Conservatives don't. I get that, you know, but I can't vote Democrat. I just do not agree with them.
On
I'm
what?
more of an independent than anything.
We just had a conversation about social safety nets that you and I are in agreement on. So you're wrong about that issue. You're wrong about voting Republican for gay rights. What else are the Democrats doing that you seem to think is so terrible?
I'm really more of an independent, really.
Well, what are Democrats doing that's so terrible?
I don't like Nancy Pelosi for one.
I don't like Nancy Pelosi. I don't like Biden either.
I don't like him either. And they're both Democrats. That's why I didn't care.
But as bad as those two are, stop. As bad as those two are, the people on your fucking party are 1,000 times worse.
I think they're all horrible. I wish we.
No. Hold on. We don't have a version of Marjorie Taylor Greene. We don't have a version of Lauren Boebert. We don't have a Ted Cruz or a Greg Abbott or a DeSantis. We don't have anybody running on the Democratic side with a fucking campaign ad where they're talking in tongues. The Christian Conservative Party has flipped its fucking lid and lost its ever-living goddamn mind. DeSantis just made it illegal to address LGBTQ issues in public school. Greg Abbott called on law enforcement in the state of Texas to arrest parents who are allowing their children to identify as a different gender, calling it child abuse.
I don't think it's child abuse, but I don't think a child should be identifying itself as a different gender.
I think a child can identify however the hell they want, and they do not perform surgeries on children. That is not true. Brother, man, I want to have this conversation with you, but you need to have a better connection because we're struggling with this conversation. So we're going to let you go today. I invite you to come back on another live with a better connection, and we can get into it. Here's the problem. Red Forsberg. Here's the issue. A child recognizes that they think they're the opposite gender. If they go through puberty, those changes are not reversible. They cannot change those the effect that the puberty has on the human body cannot be reversed. So when a child says, I feel like I'm X,
and we put them on puberty blockers to give them more time to make up their mind about what they are, how they identify. Those puberty blockers do not hurt those children. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Puberty blockers just stop puberty. Once they're off the puberty blockers, puberty will resume. Puberty is something that is pretty much biologically there, just the way it is. But no doctor is performing gender reassignment surgery on children. That's not even fucking legal. Don't worry about it, poltergeist. It's fine. Or pottergeist, pottergeist. It's totally okay. If you cannot afford to donate, you don't have to. I'm not going to even ask you to. This is for people who can afford to do it. If you're struggling, don't even try to donate to me. Children are children. And believe it or not, I don't know who was speaking in tongues. I saw it on, I think, TikTok. There was a fucking political ad for this woman. I don't know where she was running, but she was speaking in tongues on the political ad, and it was just creepy as fuck. Anyway, we're going to move on.
Clear, that's it. So, hey, I'm really sorry about hearing about you're having to deal with kidney dialysis. Is that right?
Yeah, sorry, I want to interrupt really quick before you and I get started. There's a comment I want to address very quickly. Josh Crosby said that their gas prices and inflation are all Democrats. No, it's fucking not. Gas prices are up because of supply and fucking demand, and inflation is a result of companies artificially inflating their fucking costs. Rich people are the cause of inflation. Nothing that the Democrats have done has caused inflation. You are a fucking crackhead. Anyway, sorry, moving on.
No, I'm so glad you said that. I wouldn't even blame it on either party. It's obvious the guy.
No, I mean, yeah, you're right. Democrats aren't Republicans.
Yeah,
Republicans aren't responsible for inflation. Democrats aren't responsible for inflation. You're right. It has nothing to do. Like, don't get me wrong. Politics is partially to blame here because them fuckers support these 1% billionaires every chance they get. But inflation is dictated. Inflation and cost of product is dictated by the people producing the fucking product.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish these people just educate themselves before. Just like how many of the Trumpists didn't understand how tariffs work and didn't realize that we're paying for the tariffs. And I had to explain that to them. I had to break it down to them. And you know, they felt embarrassed after that. But it was like, yeah, you keep trying to think Donald Trump's doing this wonderful thing with tariffs. No, he isn't. The bill gets passed on to you. So you get an aluminum.
The taxpayers are the ones paying the difference.
Absolutely. Like class example out there, if anybody's listening, you buy aluminum for $100, you get a tariff and they put, 25% on, it could be $125. So if a car company uses that, has to buy it for $125 instead of $100, we pay for it. That's how it works.
Exactly the reason why fucking automobiles are expensive right now, and washers and dryers and anything that comes with a conduit, or a microchip board built into it is more expensive right now.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, I was noticing real quickly. Let me ask you this question. I noticed that you use more I'm an atheist, so I care about it. But I was wondering. I noticed you using more of the satanic viewpoint and everything. Now, do you follow the Anton LaVey point, or is it more the?
No. I won't touch Anton LaVey I won't touch him with a 10-foot fucking pole. Anton LaVey was a sociopath. He was a racist and a misogynist and a piece of shit just all around. So I do not agree with the Satanic Church in general.
I agree.
And his follow-up, the guy that came in behind him, was fucking worse, if that was even possible. But,
you talk about Peter?
I'm a member of the Satanic Temple.
Ah, good for you. Yeah, I've been really impressed with what they're doing. I've donated money to help them on some of their causes, and I'm, been happy I have, because I feel like they're doing some incredible stuff when I was reading about what they were doing. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I agree. They raised funds to to try to, I don't know how it's going, but they're suing the state of Texas under abortion laws under the, Freedom from Religion or Freedom of
right.
Religion Act. So I love what they do and how they do it.
Yeah, same here. Quick background. I was listening to the woman that you had a conversation with, her family or her mother, who is forcing her to church and all that, and just all the manipulation. So I'm an ex-Christian pastor who studied Islam, of course, a lot of other religions. I'm 55, so I've been doing this for a while. Not an
Right.
expert. But yeah, I remember a lot of those manipulating tools that when I was getting ready to be a pastor was really taught to us. It is actually taught in, how to use apologetics, how to dodge certain things. It was fascinating. In ours, we even had to stay away from Bible passages because they were going to be so problematic. That was the start of my questioning and downfall of Christianity. And then it fell apart from that point. And then when I read the history, I read the Zoroastrian, Byzantine periods, and also where the Bible really came from. Now, the fascinating part I understand, because when I left Christianity and left to be I stopped being a pastor, left Christianity, they all wanted to do an intervention amongst 40 of my family members in front of me. It was the weirdest thing. And they literally were all trying to manipulate me, but it backfired because I used the Bible against them, and they had to do damage control by the time they were done. They never did that anymore to anybody, because it ended up being one of the biggest embarrassments for them. Even to this day, my mother still talks about, like, I was so embarrassed, after, and I said, well, you guys should have never cornered me and think this was some kind of intervention. But yeah, I'm sorry you got embarrassed that you had to hear about your Bible God being one of the worst evil monsters you'll ever read about, who supports slavery and mass genocide and rape and blood sacrifices and all this other crazy shit.
Yeah.
But they didn't like hearing that. It was really tough, but I shut it down for them so they wouldn't do it to other people in our family members.
Yeah. And that's a lot of what Christianity is. It's just like you said, it's emotional manipulation. And when you talk to people who've gone through seminary or there's got to be some level of intellectual honesty involved in the conversation. But when you talk to people, like one of my favorite creators on here is Captain Dadpool, and I shout him out as often as I can because he's a classically trained biblical scholar with a bachelor's degree.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. And so like he just rips the Bible apart.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah. So I don't know if that was on my end. So
it might be on your end.
I just wanted to make sure I heard you.
Wow,
yeah, that's really good.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, if you haven't seen Captain Dadpool's work, you should definitely check him out.
I will do that. Captain, you call him Dadpool?
Yeah, Dadpool. Dadpool. Captain Dadpool.
Captain Dadpool. Okay, cool. I'll check that out. Yeah, I would love to see what some of his contact is on that.
If you were previously trained for seminary, then you will love his content. I promise you.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I did study Islam for about 5 years. I still have my Quran and the Hadith. I will say this. The Quran and the Hadith as a book is worse to read than the Bible. It is like somebody on Tourette's who is just mumbling and repeats themselves over and over. It is the biggest babbling shit I've ever listened to.
Yeah, I equate the Quran to the King James version of the Bible.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I've looked at the Quran. It's just impossible to read.
I agree. It is. And it repeats itself throughout the whole entire book on the same thing. And it's like one of those people that you're like who tries to get their point across, but they keep repeating the same narrative over and over, and you just want to stop them saying, I already heard that. Do you have to keep repeating yourself? I get it. Yeah. And that's what, to me, the Quran is, and much worse. And the Hadith is absolutely no help. So anyways,
well, my friend, are you making content about this stuff?
I am right now. I've been I've been doing some. I'm about ready to do it, but I've been kind of beaten up on the Trumpists and their lack of critical thinking skills, and also because
don't let the commenters dissuade you, man. We need more voices in this community.
Oh, you mean towards religion? You saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to it because you're right. I kind of want to get off the politics thing, but I just got really worried about this movement with the way the Republican Party has been going, and I was just bringing about my uncle who was grew up in Germany when Hitler came alive. He was a German officer, and I remember talking to him. And it's funny, all the stuff that I have notes about that he explained about how fascism came in, it reminds me exactly what Trumpism is turned into. And I'm starting to see a lot of the same scenarios.
Well,
so that's kind of relevant.
Trumpism is pretty much dead at this point. I just heard about a poll where he has almost no support anymore. He's dead in the water. So I'm more worried. Now, there's an old saying, the enemy you know is better than the enemy you don't. I'm a little fucking worried now who they're going to put up in 2024.
I agree. Yeah. And I think that'd be... Yeah.
I don't want to see Marjorie Taylor Greene anywhere near that fucking podium.
Yeah. Well, now you saying this, I will start my contact on Christianity and Islam both because I need to get back.
Man, I'm going to follow you because I want to see what you put up.
You know what? And I'll get started tonight. I haven't had one up, but I will do it now, thanks to you. And I just want to say how much I love your content. I saw your donation. I'll let you go. I got to get back. But I'll try to send some money your way, and I hope you keep getting healthy and keep up the good work.
I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so very much, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Enjoy the moment. Peace.
Yep. Peace.
Alive right here for now. I am hungry. I had dialysis this morning. I ate a little bit of breakfast, but I haven't eaten anything since like 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock this morning. So I'm going to end the live here. I'm going to go get some food. I'm going to eat. I will be back in a few hours. So like maybe 2 hours. Give me 2 hours to go get some food. Maybe even less. It might be less than that. So I'm going to end the live here. I'm going to go get some food and then I will come back. Thank you guys for hanging out. I appreciate it. Above me is my Venmo and my Cash App. If you've got a few bucks you want to donate and help me out, I appreciate it. Seriously, it fucking helps. Like for real, for real. I hope you guys have a good few hours. I'm going to go have lunch. Talk to you guys later.